You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/IndieHeadsPodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll receive episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes will be up on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Georgia Mikowski, Reanna Cruz, Alan S., Josiah Duncan, Jenna LaFleur, Matt Cameron, Right in the Back of My Dracula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Chris, Alec Felder, Sandy Nemo, Jeremy Bowl, Alex Gershmanoff, Jonathan David, Sarah Moore, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Aaron Hilsamer, Darian Fisher, Garris420, Cal50, Doodoo Ass, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Kataga, Jake Wald, Eraserhead Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Waffle113, Gavin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become everyone, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon, where you'll see a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode.
Hello, welcome back. It's Best New Pod. We're back again another week talking about Pitchfork, talking about the songs that received Best New Track in the 2010s. And this is gonna be a war, is what Max and I are predicting for this episode. Is that we've been pretty nice to each other, I'd say, for the most part. Besides Rose, like, absolutely brutally striking blood last week during Jamie XX discussion, which I'm still nursing that wound. But for the most part, like, we've been pretty chill and civil with each other, and I feel like we're just gonna start throwing shit around this episode. And so I just need a. We need let's make a vow to not be too mean to each other in our choices this episode.
Again, I'm not gonna try.
You all are allowed to be as mean to me as you want, okay? Like,
I
exactly
definitely promise that I'm not going to be mean. I am not crossing my fingers and being behind my back as I'm making this promise to you all.
Listen, I'm not going to be mean to anybody.
And
I just need
here's my
people.
full position. I'll host on the podcast if my friends let me. Thank you, friends.
2 minutes in, and I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
say
Rose.
I'm gonna be civil. I'm gonna be nice to everyone. But if someone hurts my feelings too bad,
It's over.
I'm not getting back. I'm not.
I just need
like a dog
people
this
to be
episode.
nice to me, because I feel like I will be the one under attack as, like, the resident, like, Lana Del Rey lover.
You have someone in your corner. Do not.
You
worry.
do have someone.
Listen,
Is it
I
all
do.
of these songs? I don't think there's going to be very many people that are, like, on an island by themselves this episode. Like, I think on every song, it's going to be like 3 people like it and 2 people either don't have a connection to it or don't like it. And there's just going to be all of these, but it's different on literally every song. Like, it's not like we have these established factions that are just going to stay the same the whole episode. Friends will become enemies. Enemies will become friends.
The enemy is
Maybe
my
we'll have
friend.
some enemies to lovers plot lines going on. I don't know.
But before we set up this episode, before we introduce these guests, I just need to say that my mantra for this episode, even though I just said I'm going to be nice, is I'm a rude bitch. Yeah, what are you made up of? And
Exactly,
tonight we were talking about the songs of 2011, and no one I'd rather have on for this episode really than regular guests, just hot off of the Lady Gaga episode. Which, if you haven't listened to that, you're either straight or wrong or both. Just go, just go do that immediately.
Listen,
That was a banger.
This episode will have.
Yes, exactly. But this week we are joined by Reanna of the Switched on Pop podcast of Vox, and also we have Max of Federal Government Job That Shall Remain Not Mentioned on this podcast.
Yeah. One time I was on Twitter during one of our meetings, and my mentor messaged me like, "Hey, I can see you scrolling right now. We're pretty chill, but don't do that." And the fact that she knows about my digital footprint and we have each other's phone numbers means one day maybe I just become a suggested follow, and then everything falls apart.
Yeah, this is why I'm glad I'm in a business where I can make a fool of myself on the internet, and it's not really a job. It's not really a job concern.
The thing is, when you combine your internet personality with what you do for a job, the possibilities are endless.
Oh yes.
Okay, I don't want to get exactly into it, but when we say undisclosed federal job, that makes it sound really bad.
I just realized that we should be clear.
I was talking to Lockheed Martin last week, actually.
Max is not a cop. Max is actually one of the people working in the government. He's working in one of the government administrations that gets radically defunded because it actually does the good things. So it's
the Space Force, everybody.
Exactly. Max works for Space Force. Oh my god. Anyways,
well, we need again democracy, aren't they?
Exactly.
Again, enough about CIA Max. It is time to get into this episode, and we've got a great batch of 12 songs. And by great batch, I mean these are songs. It's funny that we're like, okay, let's try to keep this recording under 2 hours. I don't know if that's going to be possible.
It's going to be tough with these songs, but similar to the other 2011 episodes we've done. Like this is the last one we did, especially. Like this is just where every week now we have to be introduced to 5 people that are just going to be like fixtures of the next either people that were fixtures of this exact moment or people that are just going to be a part of the tapestry of music in general for the next 10 years.
2011. Yes. What a year. I personally was 12 years old.
Oh boy. Well, Rose, what is our first song of the evening?
Let me see if they did a good blurb for this one, because I forgot to pull those up like I usually do before the episode.
I got to pull it up right here if you want to read.
Oh, sweet. Because I think it's really important to give this one, the grand introduction. This is a voice we'll be hearing from for the rest of the decade. Somebody who's, a real perennial critical favorite, at least in and out. On her stirring debut single, New York singer-songwriter Lily Grant transforms into the more bombastically named Lana Del Rey and absolutely wallows in it. While the song is husky and sensual in a way that hits the sweet spot cat power has abdicated since the greatest, I'm not going to take that haterdom from them. Lyrically, Video Games reads more like a prelude to Lived in Bars. Strings well up and you want to hear lines like, heaven is a place on earth where you tell me all the things you want to do, and I heard you like the bad girls, honey. Is that true? As knowing rhetorical come-ons. Or what of the offhanded references to darts, pool, being held by an incapacitated lover, or a line like, open up a beer and play a video game? The allowances of a dream girl are just the most sarcastic, cutting thing that you can say to an emotionally unavailable boyfriend. As with the video, it flips between surrendering to romance and depression, moving with the elegant wastefulness of the kind of day drink that's a true privilege of the beautiful idol class. So even if I really wish she hadn't taken it there with this whole, quote, gangsta Nancy Sinatra thing, at the very least she's prevented it from being used by someone unworthy of our attention.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Say some gangsta sneak this in your fly, girl.
Yeah, this quote is hyperlinked, the gangsta Nancy Sinatra, so let's see what it leads to.
I'm sorry, but I am just chronically not LA brained enough for this. I will never be LA brained enough.
I honestly don't. I don't think LA brained is the right word for it, even though she does I'm not just on the technicality of that she's not from LA, but I do get that I am not gonna ever try to sell you on becoming a Lana Del Rey fan. It is fundamentally opposed to just your musical sensibilities, even more than your personality sensibilities or where you're from. This is just the opposite of what I think of Rose Core from being. But,
this isn't LA brain though. This is mentally ill, vulnerable teen on Tumblr brain.
Yeah. Middle school in middle city suburbia anywhere USA.
Let me paint a picture for you guys.
Are you on the school bus? School bus right now?
I was gonna say we need to pass the rock to Reanna right now and just let them cook.
Let me paint a picture for you. It's 8th grade. Okay? I don't know I'm gay yet. Don't know I'm trans yet. I'm going on a school trip to a camp in the middle of New Jersey with people of my 8th grade class. I don't have many friends. I'm very lonely. But there's one person that fills my headphones that's not Lady Gaga at this time. I board the school bus on the way to the camp, put my headphones on, look wistfully out the window, and I listen to Video Games by Lana Del Rey for the very first time, and something unlocked in this cursed, wretched little brain of mine, and I have never been the same since.
Hell fucking yeah.
Yep,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
remember that whole trip. It was like 3 days in a camp in the middle of nowhere. I had an absolute shit time because I was in 8th grade, of course, and I don't know, I remember that whole trip. I just listened to video games on repeat. It was like video games and then like a shitty like K-pop song that I liked, and it was those two songs like on repeat. And I think like that, I know like there's a lot of talk about things about like rewiring brain chemistry, and people love to say that like, oh, like this song rewired my brain chemistry. This genuinely did. Like
Yeah, I
something
know.
something shifted the first time I listened to this. I was like, music can sound like this? Like it really truly was crazy, especially for me who like only listened to Lady Gaga and like Key of Awesome.
No, yeah, at the exact moment that this hit, it hit specifically for that reason, that like
Right.
Lady Gaga, we were just coming off of an era of pop music that we're about to discuss next week on the Indie Heads podcast that is like dramatically opposed to this, where it's like dance beats and synthesizers and it's fucking loud and it's
Bombastic.
fucking, and yeah, exactly. And like, especially listening to this song and listening to it now, it's just like, oh wow, like the whole kind of tone of like pop music is kind of sad in the 2010s, and like that whole sort of idea feels like it really crystallizes here more. Before we haven't even gotten to like Lord Royals, we haven't gotten to a lot of stuff that feels like it really sets the template and the tone for pop music in the rest of the decade. And for this song fucking really feels pretty important in that grand scheme of things. In some ways, like I didn't have the relationship with the song that you had, in that I wasn't a Lana Del Rey fan actively in the moment, and came around to Lana Del Rey later for reasons that are both obvious and also just other reasons. But essentially, like when I got back into this song, it didn't hit the same way it did for you, only because like it feels so much like the Lana Del Rey Rosetta Stone that it's almost impossible for it to hit the way that it does for someone that was being introduced to Lana in this way. Because when I'm listening to video games, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also thinking about literally every other Lana Del Rey song I like
No,
in a way that,
that's very true. I feel like video games is the quintessential sort of stepping stone into who Lana Del Rey, like you said, the Rosetta Stone, like her ethos, so to speak.
totally.
And I think that like for me personally, like I think that like if you don't listen to it at a certain vulnerable time in your life, you're not gonna get it. This song specifically, because like being on Tumblr during this era, it's like like Lana was everywhere. Lana is the sort of north star of every middle schooler on Tumblr, and it's like everybody sort of is idealizing this image and this sonic sort of palette. And listening to the song like after the fact, it's like video games is not maybe in like my top 20 Lana Del Rey songs, you know? Like it's like
exactly
so low on the list, and I don't even revisit it that often, but I can still recognize that like it is a really great song, and I don't know, to me at least. And like I have a sort of level of self-importance that I place on it, that I don't think I'll ever shake.
I only listened to this like a few times in my life before this, and studying for this episode the little bit that I did, I was like, oh, I don't like this. But also like you said, the exact picture that you depicted was like the image I had made in my mind of like who this song is for. And like back to the kind of the Tumblr thing, when you think of that vision board of, you know, what idealized 2010 Tumblr is, it's like the Arctic Monkeys album, X's first album cover.
Yeah,
I was gonna get into this whole list. The bands I think of as being like foundational to Tumblr, and there are like within Tumblr there are factions. Like there is a section of Tumblr in which Joyce Manor was the only like artist that existed. Like
there was
also
like Joyce Manor, Tiger's Jaw Tumblr. Then there was like
there's 1975 Tumblr, which is like adjacent to Arctic Monkeys AM Tumblr.
Was there a Passion Pit Tumblr? They just
there was. It was certainly like Passion Pit, Young the Giant.
Passion Pit Tumblr was definitely also M83 Tumblr. Like that's the same Tumblr.
And MGMT Tumblr. I personally, for a point in time, was on Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, 21 Pilots Tumblr, which was the trenches. That was another faction of like music Tumblr for children, essentially. That was crazy.
I was never on Tumblr, and knowing my past, that's a very good thing, because I think that could have sent I think that could have sent me like in a dangerous place.
Honestly, yeah. I just want to say for video games, I have very quick thoughts. I don't want to get too. I don't need to get too into it. Now that I don't have a girlfriend anymore, I can definitely be a lot more negative about this song than I would maybe a year ago. I don't hate this song by any means. I know my initial opinions were in the chat being like, "Oh, this song is not very good." I can't say I've fully come around, but it's like I've gone from like, "Oh, this song is like a 3" to like, it's like a 5 probably. Like it's not. It is not my bag, but I appreciate what it is. I appreciate the impact that it had. I think Lana has gone to make some very good music. Again, I thought Norman fucking Rockwell is a really good record. I've not dove in, more than that because again, now that I don't have a girlfriend, there's here's two things. I don't have a girlfriend anymore, and also I'm not gay, so I have no reason to get Lana Del Rey past one album that I like.
Maddie, what you were doing right now is a monkey's paw somewhere is curling, and you're about to you're about to meet someone that you're going to want to date, and they're going to tell you that you're a huge Lana fan, and then you're going to have. And
I'm going to get into her. I mean, yeah, that's for now.
Actually,
for
Maddie,
now, I have this piece.
Real talk though, Maddie, you would maybe like Blue Bannisters, and you should give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
What are men if not weak?
That's true. That's so true, Max.
I get it. I get why people like this, but I just like. My brain just shuts off. I can't do it. Like by like minute 3, I'm just like, get me out of here, man.
That is understandable though, because like with this style of music, like either you're just completely like transfixed.
There's other people I like who do this thing, but just not Lana.
No. That's what I'm saying is just that if you're not connecting to the vibe, it's so slow that it just becomes a time prison. Like that's just what this. That's what this style of music is. It's like if you don't connect with the songwriting or the kind of world that they're trying to build, or just the atmosphere, it's like of course you're not like. It's like that's why even though like. It was a really bummer to see some critics that were like engaging with the Ethel Cain album clearly just like not engaging with it at all. But it's like, if you're not locking into it, if you're not connecting to it, it's a fucking 70-minute album of songs that are all really, really slow. And I don't fault anyone that's just not, if it's not your bag, like I'm not going to try to make you work up that hill. It's not like it's pop music that's like made to be sort of streamlined in that way. But that is sort of interesting. Like, where Lana sits as a pop star. Like I'm saying, like she's coming at a period of time where there aren't really a lot of models for pop stars like this, because the more ballady pop stars that maybe you could like draw, like it's either people that are way more adult contemporary, like Adele, who we'll talk to later when we get to the Florence and the Machine song. I have a tangent we need to go on there, but like it's a lot more like. You either are thinking of people that are a lot more traditional and tony, or you're thinking of people like Cat Power, who is the person that's brought up in the Pitchfork review, which I actually I didn't know that. And that's funny because I came to that both on my own and also because they finally collaborated on Cat Power's most recent studio album. And that song's a fucking banger. But besides just having like similar like voices in like tone and register, I do think that they have certain similarities in the way that they project like vulnerability, but just like through very different sensibilities. Like Cat Power and Lana are really different, and I won't get into the Ethel Cain Lana comparison, because Ethel finds it annoying for reasons that I think are correct to find annoying, and B, because that's just a fucking can of worms we can't let me talk about Ethel Cain on this podcast. But
let me stamp you down right now.
We got a future episode coming up where you can get that all out of your system.
All we'll say is that it's foundational to a lot of artists, that even the artists that I think aren't really like, it becomes an easy comparison to make to any kind of artist that's like remotely like this in a way that's not helpful. But I do think also it's like there's a reason why people jump to her as the comparison, because she is the person that really takes some of these sensibilities that like do come from like this kind of internet addled mentality, but like bring it to the forefront. And just kind of to close the loop on the kind of LA brain thing of it, like I think really what it is now, I'm just kind of crystallizing it, is it's the specific thing that Lana has is the fetishization of the complete abstract idea of America, which is the main thing that's different from Ethel Cain, who actually lives in that fantasized America that Lana is thinking about, but she's from there and it's a real place and not like an imaginary Bruce Springsteen fantasy land. Whereas Lana is someone from New York, has spent most of her time living between New York and Los Angeles. And like in her own way that she's described it, she literally gave an interview where she's like, yeah, I was so obsessed with the concept of freedom that I actually like almost ruined my entire life. Like basically like I ran off into the middle of nowhere and like yeah, literally just going full fucking like beatnik poet mode essentially is like her whole thing. And there are a lot of people that sort of say that she sort of glamorizes or aestheticizes like pain in a way that is like very harmful for young girls. And like I totally get that reading of it and get people that don't like the sort of Nicole Dollanganger, Lana Del Rey style of lyricism that is often dealing with like the I heard you like bad girls, honey, is that true line. Like that's very foundational to a lot of Tumblr girls that perhaps
the song
have,
that launched 1,000 shitty tattoos.
No, literally, like a lot of Tumblr girls. Baby, you like I heard that you like bad girls, baby, honey, is that true? I believe.
Yeah. I didn't know Tumblrs got freaky like that. I've learned over the last couple of years that they did, and I was like,
"Do you not remember? Do you not remember the one GIF?
Tumblr, yes.
The one GIF where he's like, you got it, man.
I know exactly what Matty's talking about, and yes, but that's what I'm saying is that like. Just not to, again, I can't keep opening this can of worms, but like I was talking to my friend Cayenne about it, who is trans and loves Nicole Dollanganger and Ethel Cain, doesn't love Lana, but like talks about how like Nicole's music is really meaningful to her in the way that it deals with like these crassnesses of like, I don't know, it's hard to, but it's basically like it for people that do have these like issues of abuse, like it actually is meaningful to those people in a way that I think gets dismissed sometimes. But that's I can't keep going. Someone take me out of this.
All right, you're out.
Matty, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know the thing that you just looked up even existed. I did know that Patrick Stickles is like a huge Lana Del Rey stan.
Oh boy, I don't like this.
I was checking the Wikipedia for video games, and video games has been covered by several artists, including Boy George, TYP, John Mayer on guitar, Rasputina, Bristeel, Ben Howard, Maverick Saber, Tyler Hilton, Amanda Palmer, Patrick Stickles of Tyus Andronicus, Patrick Wolf, Tom Odell, Trixie Mattel, and English rock bands Bombay Basketball Club and Caspian.
Trixie Mattel, that's big.
Yeah, that's whack.
I think it's alphabetical order. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I wanted to see. But seeing Tyus Andronicus or Patrick Stickles, I'm like, okay, what is that going to sound like? Because Lana,
it's probably just him singing over an acoustic guitar, like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but again, it's this case of Lana has this very.
In fact, he has also done covers of The Weeknd's, I believe, The Hills, and then also Iconopop's "I Love It."
Mm-hmm.
Very, very important lore. This man loves pop music to a very earnest degree.
And he calls it the Song of 2011. The video description is covering the Song of 2011 in my parents' living room day after Christmas.
Lana always gave me the vibes of like she sees those tweets of like the families in trad clothing and a checkerboard picnic cloth on the table, and like, damn, I fucking need that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing with Lana. We'll also be talking about her music video "Husband" later on.
Yeah, I've had enough. Yeah, I like the dude, but I don't want to listen to him cover
Sounds
this.
Nasty.
I will save my Patrick Stickles slander for a later date. Anyways.
Yes. Anyways, our next song. Rose, what is our next song?
Oh God, this next one. Oh. Honestly, just hit the snippet. I feel like you gotta this is one of those ones you just gotta kick it.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I don't want to talk over it because there's just what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say that's better than what he's saying on this song?
This is Monopoly by Dana Brown, if you didn't already figure that one out. Rose, do you want me to read this one?
Yeah,
or you got
this?
Okay.
God,
So, we should know that the last track review we just read for Lana Del Rey was written by Ian Cohen, and this one is also written by Ian Cohen.
I knew it. When you were giving the intro and you were like, this is one of the singular voices we've been hearing from for the past decade, I was like, who wrote this? Was it Ian Cohen? Because I thought that's what you were leading towards.
Yes.
We're definitely entering the era of Ian in terms of these track reviews.
Mhm.
So before we were very firmly in Ryan Domble and Larry Fitzmaurice territory. We're definitely entering the Cohen zone as of
Yes.
now. As let's see, with I'm on One sitting as 2011's preeminent summer jam, it's clear rappers are getting more fucked up than ever. But in the midst of the morbid reflection, hangovers, and mirthless clubbing, who's willing to revive the heyday of Eminem or Redman? Guys as addicted to punchlines as narcotics who rapped about indefensible hedonism with the irresistible and almost innocent charm of that kid your parents warned you about. Certainly not today's Eminem or Redman. I'm not saying hip hop owes it to us to make epic drug abuse sound fun again, but it's something of a relief that Danny Brown and his haircut let us know off the bat that he's honoring his Detroit roots by clearly not giving a fuck. And
yeah, you know that.
Mm-hmm. Later on in the review, fittingly, Brown just goes off in this strangulated nasal honk about your shitty mixtapes and his awesomeness, delivered in language that's 95% not safe for work. In parentheses, his voice is certainly an acquired taste, most of the time sounding like Pharaoh Monk. I don't know.
Pharaoh Monk.
Who was
Thank you.
that?
It's some. I don't.
Anybody know?
Rose knows more about that shit than I do. Rose knows.
The name.
Listen,
I know
that's
the
one of the
name,
few
but
names
I
I'm
also,
not familiar with. I know
Okay,
the name. I've heard it plenty, but I've just never got.
Well,
He's
I
just
vaguely
a rapper guy.
remember blog rapper guy. Just blog rapper.
He's a New York guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Just sort of blog rap, like in that in between phase, like where blog rap, whatever. So
Before
fucking went
internet
all
rapping.
out horrorcore. Your reward for getting to the end, having Cool Ranch Doritos ruined forever. Highly recommend to play around authority figures. In other words,
Oh fuck! Okay. Here's who Pharaoh Monch is. You know the song Simon Says that has the Godzilla sample in it. The bum 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 ba da da dum.
Yeah.
The one that samples the Godzilla theme.
Okay.
That's Pharaoh Monch.
Yeah,
Nice.
and this review is one of the most
How to
white
munch
things
on
that I've
some
ever
Cool
read
Ranch
on
Doritos.
this series so
I didn't
far.
want to say it because I'm not like negative on this song, but Danny Brown's wallpaper music to me.
Fair.
Him of all people,
Yeah,
That's the
just, like,
weirdest.
has
That's the weirdest critique for me of Danny. Like, it's not even that I'm
his
mad
whole thing,
that.
Like, I could see you being annoyed by him.
Yeah,
but
that was the thing in the day, is that
wallpapers.
everyone who didn't like Danny Brown was like, Jesus fucking Christ, this voice, are you serious? Like, we're just gonna let this guy be an obnoxious Muppet the whole time. Like, that was the thing people had an issue with.
And also that haircut was really terrible. I'm so glad he got it.
it's a pretty bad.
I miss
haircut.
the awful haircut and bad teeth era of Danny Brown, but I'm also happy that he got his teeth fixed. You know what I mean? Like those two things can be true.
I guess I saw him at Pitchfork last year, and I was like, I've listened to XXX and Atrocity Exhibition before that, and I thought Atrocity Exhibition was pretty good, but it was kind of like I hear the voice and it doesn't annoy me, but I also just like end up tuning it out a little bit.
Mhm.
And like going to Pitchfork and like the two songs I knew, I think it was like Really Dough and Ain't It Funny. I like those songs. They played back to back. And so I guess I locked in for the rest of his set, and I'm like, damn, this dude's like really horny, and he's 40. And I'm just like, I can't get into a guy that's like that horny rapping.
Have you heard the song I Will, or have you listened to XXX in full?
Yeah.
Yes, I was into the horniness. I was immediately, like, the moment that XXX came out, it was pretty as Rose will get into too. This is one of those songs that in the moment immediately activated me, and is part of the reason I would say this song and Danny Brown, more than almost any of the rappers of this current like ilk and generation, of which there are many more we're gonna have to get into this episode. Danny Brown is the reason why I ended up on Hip Hop Heads and ended up in the circles of the internet that I did. Essentially, like I already liked rap music. Like I was coming off of the kind of late 2000s Drake, Jay-Z, early Drake, Kanye era of like, okay, I'm getting into Eminem, I'm getting into rap music, I'm getting into Kanye West. Like I was primed right for this era of hip hop to hit me in the way that it did. But of all of the guys of this era, Danny Brown is the one that immediately like excited me the most, and is one of the ones that actually has stuck with me as someone who will even stick up for you know what I'm saying. Like I'm a very big Danny Brown fan, obviously, but XXX is an album that I even though it was one of my favorite rap albums of all time, one of my favorite albums of all time, I somehow went back to it for the first time in years, like a year or two ago when I don't know. I think we were talking about XX that he was doing 40 and he was going to do a sequel to XXX. And I was like, let me give XXX a listen again. And it was somehow it was somehow better than I remembered. That was the insane thing. Like,
it is like one of those tapes that you're just like, is this really as good as I remember? And it's just like, no, this is perfect. Like I still think it is his best. Like I love Atrocity, but like, oh my god, this one just like had like that A side is literally all hits.
Yeah, and
I've definitely come around to it.
As much attention is paid to the whole A side, B side, the first side has all the party songs, and the second side has all the kind of sad, fucked up songs. I think that kind of misses the point that the whole thing is the whole thing. Like,
the whole thing is depressing.
Exactly. All the party songs are sad. That's
that's why it works. Is because you're just
that's
like,
my secret captain.
Like those first listens, you're like, oh, I'm having a great time, and then you the more you get into it, you're like, oh my god, what is wrong with this guy?
Can I be resident contrarian for a second?
Go ahead.
Oh boy.
I'll be with on team.
This song, I kind of resonate with the statement that Danny Brown is wallpaper music, because anything other than Atrocity Exhibition is like literally watching wallpaper to me. I don't know. I really like Atrocity Exhibition. It's one of my favorite albums ever, blah blah blah, but anything other than that, I cannot shake the feeling that Danny Brown is just simply like Reddit rap. That like
I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you did.
Right. Like I think that like if I'm thinking of like a dude, like a white dude specifically that is like super into hip hop, that browses hip hop heads every day, you ask them, like, Chad, what's your favorite rapper?
2016. Oh.
Right. But you ask them, it's like, dude, like, hey Bradley, what's your favorite rapper? And they're like, oh, like, I'm really into like Danny Brown, and it's like, okay, like,
listen,
all right.
There's going to be a list of guys that like Bradley really likes, and we're going to talk about all of them in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. No, totally. But like, I don't know. As somebody that is not a white dude, I was like, this is not like, I don't know. Danny Brown is like rap for people that don't really like rap, I think, in a way that like, I can say that like, as we get to later, one of the dudes like LP and Run the Jewels is like similar,
I think that like for the three of you, there's like a natural transition between like 2010, like early, like you were into rap already at this time. I wasn't. I got into it like 2016, 2017. And I was smoking weed at the time. And I was around my friends that were bumping Young Thug. And I would rather hear Digits for the 50th time than listen to a Danny Brown song. And that's just how I was conditioned.
That's fair.
That totally makes sense. Both of those make sense to me. Like, I totally understand having that association with Danny Brown, because you're right that among that very annoying kind of hip hop fan, and I say that as someone who was that annoying kind of hip hop fan, like, 100%. Like, it is obnoxious in that way, but I also don't think of any of them that Danny deserves that, like, isn't for real rap music fans, because I think when I think of stuff like that, I think more of the kind of stuff that is more the kind of like not taking itself too seriously stuff, or the like. When I think of rap music for people that don't like rap music, I think of more like the kind of either really jokey stuff or like really,
Logic.
Or the really kind of up its own ass, like intellectual
spiritual miracle.
Exactly. That's what I like. I think of those two kinds. Like, I think Danny Brown is someone that, even though there were some kind of rap purist fans that didn't take to him immediately, like, I do think he not only like is really technically good at rapping, but is just really like, I don't know, he's just so formative to what
I think his personality is like so well carved that he kind of is worth the space that he is given within the scene. Like, like, of course a bunch of insufferable nerds like him, but like, he's so good at it. Like, I can't deny that talent. Like,
let me remedy my statement.
His fault. Like,
go ahead.
Exactly. It's not his
like
fault.
His music. Like, I don't think Danny Brown is necessarily nerd music, but it is like, I agree with Reanna.
But like the nerds have flocked around him naturally.
Yeah.
It's right. Let me remedy my statement then. I don't think it's necessarily now like music. I misspoke. I guess like it's not music for people that don't like rap music. Like a lot like Logic and shit, but it's like music for people that are like way too into rap music. That it's like,
yeah,
okay,
listen to the
dude.
new Bus Driver tape.
Right, like shit, like it's like,
Max,
you heard a cunnilinguist,
don't hit me
like
that.
what? Like
Yeah.
it's like who? What? Like
I just
who?
picked up the new Milo LP for
literally,
$400.
you're literally exactly. You're talking to someone that enjoyed cunning linguists at this time. Yes, 100%.
Right, like it's
Like-
that vibe. It's like, oh, like you listen to Aesop Rock, and it's like, bro, what? Like who listens to Aesop Rock these days?
It is so funny how there is this pocket that exists in between, like 2000s kind of shiny suit, mid 2000s rap era. Like you got that era where you've got a lot of like pop rap stuff happening, and then you have the era that comes after this of a whole completely different kind of pop. Like just in a couple of years we get Young Thug, we get Future, and then like all of a sudden it's just like rap. Like the rap music from the early 2010s feels like it comes from a completely different universe, both from what came right before it and what came from right after it, which I just think is really fascinating. And it's why I'm like so obsessed with this era of music, because it was the era of music in which I got into rap music. So I literally listened to all of this, and like only just now am really able to differentiate between the stuff I think is still good and the stuff that is like absolutely terrible. Like, because I didn't have the context for the genre. Like exactly what you're saying. Like at this time where like hip hop fandom is not only exploding on the internet more than ever before, and you've got like people like Anthony Fantano that are now listening to every rap album and feeling like they get to have an opinion on it. But like you've also just got it like taking over pop music in a way that it never did before. And so there are more people than ever that are just like, what are the 50 essential hip hop albums I should listen to? And then so you just get a lot of like groupthink that comes out of that. Is essentially like you get people that just not like the wrong artists, but they just like all like the same couple of artists in a way that's very boring.
And then there's just like the backpack rap kids on the internet who like a very specific.
I never was as backpack pilled as Rose.
I was deep in that zone for a very long time, and I'm here to address it.
Recovering backpack rap fans.
Exactly. Like I like other stuff now plenty, and it's just like, but for a long time I was that insufferable kid, and I have to talk about it when we get to one of the later pickups.
I think all the time about the fact that I had a Brother Ali album on my iPod, and
I never went that far.
Come on.
Yeah, I know. He was good at rapping. Whatever.
The only Ali I know is Rucka Rucka Ali. And,
oh Jesus Christ! No, very different. Very different vibes. Brother LD.
This is a fucking great song. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know this song. I'm just like, man, this song rocks. I think we're having a very interesting discussion about this period of rap music, but I do think that we're missing the point that this song is just 3 straight minutes of absolute solid gold punchlines, like just hilarious, endlessly quotable. Like obviously, Staying Pushy, Smelling Like Cool Ranch Doritos was the song that essentially Danny Brown's career, the lyric that Danny Brown's career was essentially built around, and is sort of like is so much of his conception, like his people's perception of him at that time is that line. But there's so many other good lines in this song.
We could just like list them off all here.
I really
By the way,
my personal favorite
folks,
part. My personal favorite
2 songs over half an hour.
We're going
recording
too
right
long
now.
immediately. Yes, I knew we would do this with
Just
the beginning, but
and also I think we're having this discussion because we're all trying to ignore the thing that I pulled up on my computer. When Danny Brown got head on stage in 2013, with Kendrick Lamar saying, asking Danny on Twitter, "You really just got the head on stage, Stanny?" And he responds saying, "And didn't miss one bar, bruh." So
my personal favorite part of the song is like the moment where it just goes absolute peak Danny Brown saying silly things in a silly voice mode when he says, "I'm Ferris Bueller with Frank Mueller's, your blank shooter is stank coolers, I'm in Aruba sipping wine coolers." That part,
I honestly don't think it's that impressive.
Love that part.
Yeah.
Justice for wine cooler lovers everywhere.
It's not impressive. Oh, no, I thought you were saying that.
No, like, I feel like cool, if I was on stage in front of a bunch of people. Okay. I'm not gonna
we're going too far. We're going too far down this road, Max.
We're going down a road we don't want to
I mean, really, like, just insane song, and you gotta hand it to Quelly Chris for just making this this absolute monster of a beat.
Perfect. I'm glad.
What's the sample founded on? Does anybody know?
I can pull up who sampled real quick.
An episode after we're like, you probably shouldn't like this is recorded like 2 days after 90s Metal, where I believe we go on a rant about like you shouldn't sample snitch online.
Okay.
It had to get cleared, so it's one of those cases.
There are two
It had to get
samples
cleared, so.
on this song. One of them is "Train Chase" from New Pagodi. I don't know what that is. It's a '70s cartoon, it seems. And then there's also a sample from "Fight Scene," which is a piece of theme music from Black Sisters Revenge, which appears to be a '70s blaxploitation movie.
Slay. That's the one. That's the one that I was wondering about.
Oh fuck! This same movie was also sampled in another song, which is "Thugging" by Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. So
nice.
Very great little bit of trivia tying together two of the best rap songs of the decade. Literally, do not insult Thuggin, maybe the best rap song ever made. Do not even say that on my podcast.
Rules.
Thuggin is a song that I've listened to 500 times.
Okay. You're also a hip hop.
Anyways,
I was but like that.
Okay, we got to move on.
Thuggin and Monopoly. Thuggin and Monopoly are the stuff that stood the test of time.
Okay, so I'm gonna get my. I'm not even gonna read the review. I'm just gonna get my prelude out. I'm gonna get my piece in.
Go ahead.
Say some words. So I've spilled many words on this podcast and on Soft Sounds about my feelings on Annie Clark post 2017. I think ever since. I don't know what happened, but she just became unspeakably evil. Like, just something happened, something broke in her brain, and she just suddenly could not write good songs anymore. And she also just decided to do like horrible things. It just made me go like, I question your judgment as a human being. But before then, unfortunately, I must say, she kind of freaked it a lot. It yes. The song we're talking about, "Zay Cruel," is just like, in my opinion, sincerely one of the best songs about emotional abandonment there will ever be. It is, to me, just something that like still makes me cry a lot. It is very important, and oh my god, just like good guitars. Like that's the most important thing. Is like back then she had good guitars.
Annie was floating on this beat.
Yeah, this song is ridiculous. Just hit that sample.
Snooze fest. Next.
Oh god.
You hear this and you know you're in for a good ass 3 minutes.
I hear this and I'm like, damn, this is gonna be the most mid Apple iPhone commercial I've ever seen.
Interesting.
I am somewhere in between the factions on this song. I think
the song is great. Yeah. I get it. Again, the thing it's like having to unlearn certain things. It's just like my bad taste of Annie Clark now occasionally will bleed into like past stuff, but like once I block that out, I'm just like, damn, this song is just fucking just fucking excellent.
That's not my calculus though. Is that like, even though I like this song and have always liked this song, at the time I was never into Annie Clark besides a couple of songs. Like, I remember when that self-titled album came out and it being a big... That was, like, right around when I started migrating to indie heads more than being on hip-hop heads. And, like, so I definitely, like this early St. Vincent stuff enough. Like, I think the song is, like, a fine... It's a solid 7 is how I would describe the song. Like, it's not anything, like, I really ever... I'm never, like... getting a hankering to listen to St. Vincent, and part of that is because I never had the phase, and so that now that she's become the Joker, like I don't really have things that make me feel like, oh, I should go spend some time with St. Vincent's music. But it's also that, like, I don't know, I think that now that the hype has died down because of all the dumb shit, when I go back to some of this early music, it does feel like something where we were so obsessed with like the potential of this person that we kind of talked ourselves into there being more there than there. And it's not as bad as the comparison I'm about to make, but the thing that it reminds me of is something we've been talking about in the Discord quite a lot, which is Chance the Rapper. Which is that it's not that all of the early Chance the Rapper music is terrible, and I'm not saying that that's a 1-to-1 comparison, because Annie Clark's early music is definitively better than Chance the Rapper's any music. However, I think it's the same thing where, like, when you believed in Chance the Rapper as a guy, and when you were invested in him as a rising star, it was so much easier to ignore all of the red flags about the terrible music he was going to release in the future. And it was also so much easier to talk yourself into the value of it. And that's what I feel about St. Vincent, is like, we were so high on the critical fumes of this person that we were hyping up what is just some, like, pretty basic indie rock. And I also think that the guitar tones on her songs get, I don't know, overrated. Like, everyone talks about how weird and skronky they are, and I think they're just kind of like whatever. Like, it's not that. I don't think it's that special. I think it's good. I think the song is fine.
I just think
but
it hits right when you're in the specific space. I think
I think that's
I
fair.
think it's
This is one of my
funny,
favorite
and
Saint
also,
Vincent
like,
songs for sure.
To indicate my bias, like Saint Vincent self-titled, one of the most important albums to me at a certain point in my life.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I think I resonate partly with what you said, Jackie, about like, I don't know, like hyping up Saint Vincent in a way that
Yeah.
like isn't necessarily warranted. Because for me, I don't know. I resonate with what you said about like it being like basic indie rock, because I think like that's why I'm very opposed to Saint Vincent, because nothing really like clicks for me, and I've tried and I've listened to her albums and I watched her fucking movie, you know what I mean? Like I
Oh my
paid
god.
money for a ticket for the Nowhere
Braver
Inn.
than the Troops. Braver than
Literally.
the Troops.
So
is
I've
what I'll
like
say.
consistently tried, as somebody that like listens to a lot of music, as somebody that effectively writes about music, to understand Saint Vincent, and I simply can't. Like there's something that's not clicking with me, and I think that's honestly it, where like I don't like indie rock by and large, you know, like I don't like this certain sound that her first few records have, and I think that's why this song is like very sleepy core to me. I'm very passive about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, as someone who got into the indie scene in like 2017, right around the Mass Seduction era, I think Saint Vincent, I enjoyed Mass Seduction all right, but like when I finally did the dive, I really clicked with it, and it was at a time where I really liked indie rock, especially like I was drawn to Self-Titled and Actor. And over time, it's just like, oh, it was very quick to realize like, oh, Annie Clark, she's not him, if that makes sense. And I wasn't there with like the perspective of being there in like the early 2010s where she probably was hailed as the one. And so
Yeah.
I never like came into her albums with the expectation that they're going to like reshape and redefine everything. And
That's probably, that makes sense. Like it's like a lower stakes thing. Whereas part of my issue with Saint Vincent is I had to listen to people be like, "She's the fucking truth," and that's why I made the Chance the Rapper comparison, because it's once you have your the Emperor has no clothes situation, once you make your Minions Funky Town, you know, like it's so much easier to be hypercritical of everything you did before, because you're now viewing everything through the lens of this person has lost the plot. But it can also, like it did for you, make it so that you're unburdened of all of the kind of this is the band of our moment stuff. But yeah, I think overall this is a fine song. Whatever, we can move on.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's very fine. Annie Clark, if you're reading this, hit me up. We don't have to talk about your music.
yeah, that's just a blanket. Like, if you hear me
That might be
express
more
any
deranged. That might be more
negative
deranged than your
opinion-
opinions on the
What?
music. Annie Clark is again. She's been in her Arby's era for quite some time, especially Diet Home era. Quite Arby's.
I would like to issue Gavin an apology for the Arby's era comment I made last year. I've been to Arby's a few times recently in the last few months, and I've had a great time. Every
Dude,
time I went.
let me Obama voice, let me be clear. Arby's kicks ass. I don't give a fuck. I will talk to any single person who has a negative opinion of Arby's and say, "Have you tried a Big and Toasty?" No, get on that, then we'll talk.
It's the Arby's tastes delicious when you don't have a bitch in your ear telling you that it's
Exactly.
nasty.
Yeah,
No, Jackie,
see-
that's I said that word for word to somebody a few weeks ago. We drove past Arby's and I was like, Arby's. And somebody was like, absolutely not. And I was like, yeah, Arby's is good when nobody tells you that it's not.
It's literally Jon Stewart's fault for making it the punchline of his jokes for like 10 years.
Yeah, last year I went on a camping trip with the gal, and we stopped to get food on our way up to our campsite. And she was like, "I want to get Arby's." I'm like, "Hell no, I'm not getting Arby's." So there's a Burger King on the other side of the road, and we went to 2 locations.
See, now that's where you fight. Burger King is
You went to
worse than
Burger
Arby's.
King
I
instead
wanted
of
to try
Arby's?
I wanted to try the Impossible Burger, and I was scared of Arby's. Jon Stewart got in my head, and so I tried that, and I got chicken nuggets instead of the jalapeno poppers, which was I didn't want them because there was no sauce, so I didn't eat them. She had her Arby's sandwich. I had a bite of it. It was pretty good, and that's when I started to realize I might be wrong. She was having a garden fresh one, so it was like one of the primo sandwiches. And then the next morning there were cold chicken nuggets in the front seat, and she ate them. Shout outs to if you're listening to this, but that was crazy.
That was crazy.
That was crazy indeed.
Nah, underrated Arby's moment is when they give you potato knishes as a side. That goated. No other place does.
Why are
that.
y'all talking about Arby's?
It's Matty, we can hear you again. So your connection.
Okay, I just want to say that with Saint Vincent, it really is kind of like you kind of had to be there. Like you had to be there for like, because I mean, like with Rose, I was there. I
wasn't even there for the good stuff, and I still liked it.
Yeah, I mean, like Saint Vincent self-titled, like that's like one of the first like indie albums I got, like modern indie albums that I got into. So like,
literally, I got
in many
into
ways,
her
she's a
as
very
the
foundational artist for me. But also at the same time, it's just like with like the past 2 records and like just all the bullshit. It's just like, but sometimes I just throw on Actor and I'm like, damn, this is just a fucking great like indie rock record. I'm not a Strange Mercy is a teeny tiny bit overrated in my opinion,
Strange
but I think
Mercy
it's still very
sucks
good.
Other than singles.
Really?
I think
I wouldn't go that far. I would not go that far.
Yeah, I really think that is I think it is a bad record that like if you took the best songs from that and just swapped them, if you swapped out the bad songs from Self-Titled and put like the singles from Strange Mercy on there, you'd have a perfect record, and then you could just throw away all that material without any problems.
Not to invoke Adrian Linker on this podcast, but Actor and Hours for the Birds are very similar in terms of like the space they occupy in my brain. And what
it's true. Saint Vincent even has a non-canonical debut, kind of, because I mean, who talks about "Marry Me" ever?
That's true.
Marry Me has Your Lips Are Red, which is one of her best songs.
Yeah, it has a few good ones, but it's just like who is ever going to talk about "Marry Me"?
Oh yeah, no. It's only like a record you only care about in the context of her career. Like,
sorry, I blacked out for 2 minutes. Are you guys still talking about Saint Vincent?
Okay, well, let's move on.
Let's move on. Talk about Arby's all the time. Rihanna DM.
I know.
Let us move on to our next song, which is Neon Indians "Polish Girl."
Snooze fest.
Yes, sir.
The song fucking.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
This one's fine. I don't care.
This one's a time prison. This is my time prison
this
song.
This is not bad. This is not bad. I can't.
It's not terrible. It's a time prison.
I've never got Neon Indian. I wasn't around for this song, but I was around for the Vega era, and I never.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Vega later. We're gonna talk about Vega later.
We'll save all our different thoughts on this. But what I'll say about this song is that I liked literally all the shit that is adjacent to this, which is both passion. This is like right in between chillwave and like passion pit indie pop. And since the very
did somebody mention a chill wave in here? It's feeling cold.
A wave chilled at me.
I am the target of this exact bullshit, and I've never liked this band. Like, I don't know what it is, but I think there's just something about like, especially the way the synths are produced, that's like, it's supposed to be like pretty and like shimmery and like vibes. It's supposed to give you what this cover is giving you, which is an incredible piece of cover art that effectively does all the vibe work laying that the song is supposed to do, and the vibes that the songs are giving me is boring and shitty.
The vibes are Sleepy Bear is what this song is giving.
Oh, exactly.
This is completely Urban Outfitter core.
No, I worked at American Eagle.
Shit.
No,
this isn't even Urban
I did my time working at American
Gap.
Eagle.
All right.
your service in the American Eagle wars.
Yeah, my American Eagle service wars. This is very American Eagle core, and because of that, I think I'm desensitized to this sort of music, as anybody that works a retail job is. And I will be refraining from further discussion because I do not have a single thought in my brain dedicated to Neon Indian.
Literally, just go back and listen to our conversation about Midnight City. This is just like
what that's on Midnight City.
Well, we did. We were positive on it, but Midnight City is like an undeniable song that opens a Pandora's box that creates like the Chainsmokers
and with Neon India, it's like all the interesting like contextual time discussion is locked on Neon Vega International Night School, and that's not for a while. So we can kick this guy to the curb and say go away. We don't like
Matty and I are going to ruin our friendship over Neon Vega International later.
Wait,
I thought you loved that album. Are you not like the one?
God, I mean, like I think that album is. You're thinking of somebody else. But again, like that was an album that I loved at the time. But I've gone a little more cold for.
I was trying to think who's the one
years.
who like still like stands for that album of our podcast group. I don't know. Maybe
check Chew. You can find out.
Anyways, I've always been the Neon Indian hater. That's been my stance from day one.
I mean, y'all know how I feel about FIFA music. I mean, come on.
Max, I put hundreds of hours into listening to fucking bands like Two Door Cinema Club. Max, that's what I'm saying.
My first concert was the Griswolds, Jack.
It's exactly why the reason why I'm a hater of this song is exactly the reason why I am so critical of the Foxing album. It's not that I am someone who is recoiling at the idea of Foxing making a Passion Pit album. It's that I think they did a bad job of it as someone who likes Passion Pit. That's what I'm saying. And this is the same thing where it's like they are pitching in what is like one of the widest softball like strike zones in my music taste, and they're missing it wide.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to be super harsh on this song.
I guess I have a little bit of a story for like explaining why I'm positive on the song that just can't change. The idea of this song like appeared in my mind sophomore year of college when I was really getting into music. And I knew what the beat sounded like, but I just couldn't put a name to it. And it was in my head for like a week. And I just saw a comment on Reddit that just mentioned the name Neon Indian. And I was like, oh, you know what? I bet whatever that song is, a guy named Neon Indian made it. And I looked up Neon Indian and I clicked on the most popular song, and sure enough, that was it. And the feeling of being right in that moment will always make me like hear this song and be like, that's correct. I did that.
I get that.
Yeah, there are some songs where you just can't be objective about it. Like the next song we're talking about, because oh boy, this next one, this is
another one of the had not heard this before the series songs. This is a song that I'm sure a lot of fans of this podcast have never heard of before, but I know this guy, and the reason why we included this song is that I would say this is the second inclusion that was 100% included so that we could make Goop on Ya Grinch jokes. Because the next song we're talking about today is Nasty.
Wait, are you sure? I think you're getting early on the playlist.
We're just going to talk about Nasty.
Oh no! Never mind. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say you're looking at the Spotify.
This is the one that's on Spotify.
Never mind. No, we're not talking about that song. We're continuing we're gonna finish our Reddit rap discussion now. It's time, Rose. This is your corner. Go ahead.
It's
Go ahead.
important. It's just a guy who purely exists in the blog space because like he filled in an opening spot for Das Racist and then made this song, and everyone was just like, we gotta bring him in, you know, like he's the next guy, right? Just
it's like sometimes in the NBA, you draft a guy first and he's a bust. It happens.
You just gotta live with it.
It's more to say, like, what I'm saying, like, how insular this moment in rap music was. Like, it was so short, and so like, you could just have, if just all the guys are like, hey, this guy's cool, we should all make songs with him, like, you could have weird shit like this happen.
I mean, just look at the list of names on the song. Mr. eXquire, Despot, Das Racist, Danny Brown, LP. It's just like, this is 2011 crystallized in sheer... amber. This is the last moment you could get all of these guys on the track together, probably.
This is like One Train, but for Reddit.
Yes,
literally.
Exactly.
One Train's already kind of One Train for Reddit. This is an advanced version of it out here.
Rihanna's right though. Like the two sides of like hip hop heads is the kind of people that like are obsessed with the kind of more serious side of this, like the kind of Joey Badass, ASAP Rocky, like those kind of fans, and then there were the like more online set of like the kind of Danny Brown, Mr. Motherfucking eXquire, like all of that kind of stuff. And I think that you're right that it is like, I mean, this was just a big era for posse raps. I think in general.
When someone that's canceled starts singing, does someone just want to point it out, or is that like the whole song?
This is only so we'll talk about the DOS racist stuff at the end of this. We needed to talk about the song before we get into
this song.
them
And
being
then I'll
bad
get on my
dudes.
little DOS racist tangent because I feel like we're never gonna discuss them again.
Exactly. We'll
like,
have our
I
quick
want to
tangents.
get everything. I want to get my piece out of the way.
But just real quickly with this song, so I have almost no familiarity with the song, even though I was 100% around like the conversations that were happening about the song because I was on rap forums. I remember the era of Mr. Motherfucking eXquire, and for whatever reason, like Monopoly was a song that hit like an atom bomb for me, and this guy, I just never really engaged with it, even though almost everyone featured on the song is someone that I love. Now I must make my confession. I had never seen this music video before, and I honestly must admit that I learned this week that Despot was white. I did not. just like Reanna with the Toonyards, I did not know that Despot was a white guy.
No. Listen. He's a crazy ass white boy who like has ownership stake in like a bunch of bagel shops. It's like,
he's just got a great voice. That's the thing. Is it's similar to like.
Yeah. Like this is everyone wanted an album from this guy for like a decade because that voice is just so good. Like you hear House of Bricks for the first time and you're like, oh, this guy could do stuff, and then you realize like, no, you don't actually want a Despot album. You just
exactly.
You just really like that voice.
It's kind of like Michi Darko, where the ratio of like how good their voice is for rapping versus how good they actually are at rapping is kind of off.
He's like okay, he's like pretty good. Like every time he does a guest verse, I'm like, oh yeah, Despot, good job.
I feel like being 23 years old, hearing this for the first time, it's just not
wrong. Exactly.
I heard this at a very formative age. And I was just like,
the beat sucks. That's my main issue.
I'm in a time prison right now. This is my first time listening to it.
Well, that's also because it's a classic posse cut where this was a song.
It's just a bunch of guys dropping bars.
That was a short beat, and that they've now just looped it over and over and over again. And if you're not like losing your mind over every one of these verses, like people would have been at the time, like it's incredibly stagnant as a piece of music.
But anyway, like just to give you an idea, it's like Despot when people were like, "Oh, he's gonna drop an album, right?" It's DOS racist really broke up.
No. Despot's the guy at the very beginning. This is LP. One half of
white?
Dude, he's Run the Jewels. Max.
That's like LP's like whole thing is he's a white again.
That's literally the whole thing of Run the Jewels.
He's the white one that everyone calls the good one of Run the Jewels. That is, we're perverting stereotypes.
They kind of spilled it because like of the two people who Run the Jewels, my money is on LP.
I mean, LP is a better. He's the producer, and he's also probably a better rapper. Although I kind of liked Killer Mike more at the time, but then now that's just changed as Killer Mike's become like a more annoying dude.
Jackie, are you saying that you're pro jacking off? Is that what I'm hearing?
I am pro jacking off, and I'm also anti Adult Swim bumper rap music for 2020.
Well, you have a lot to answer for with your like 20 minutes of rambling about Flying Lotus.
Hey, that's the good kind of this music. But
we can't pick and choose, can we?
This song is fine. I think that Danny's verse is good, but it's not one of his best feature verses from this time. I prefer Danny's One Train verse.
I just think like to me all of these are like so iconic because like my brain just like got formed around like listening to guys like these forever. I was just like, oh, this is the song for all of them. And okay, now we have to get into DOS Racist because
yes,
like
we do.
They are just like wedged in the middle of this, and they are symbolic of such a weird era.
Yeah,
like,
they are the bridge that connects this kind of backpack Reddit rap with the kind of Krayshawn, Lil B, riff raff. Like the whole point of the song is that we're not taking it seriously.
We're going to the Bay.
I mean, they literally have a song where the chorus.
Bay Life was so big in the early 2010s.
Yes.
To understand them, you have to know that they have a song where the entire chorus is just, we're just joking, we're not joking, we're just joking, we're not joking. It's just that over and over.
The thing to know about them is that their breakout hit was, I'm at the Pizza Hut, I'm at the Taco Bell, I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Like, the whole point was that it was stupid and juvenile, and that was like,
another Tumblr classic. We're talking about formative Tumblr classics this episode.
But like, secretly, they're kind of smart, like, is what everyone will do to you. It's just like, hey guys, did you know
that's essentially what happens in this verse. Like, this verse does like really essentialize what the sort of appeal of them was basically that one guy is going to reference Sun Tzu, and then the next guy is going to come in and is going to be like, I'm a fucking idiot, I'm a dumb guy.
Like the Heems verse is just like peak stupid. Like, I kind of love it. Well, because
it's one dumb dumb smart guy and one dumb guy. You know what I mean? Like, one of them is like the kind of guy that is like fake smart.
And just the audacity to like go into a cream reference with, I'm at the Pizza Hut, I'm at the Taco Bell, the combination made my eyes bleed. It's just, oh my god.
Das Racist asks, what if jokesters could low-key be smart sometimes?
Yeah, exactly. It just, and like also on the song, of course, doing ad-libs is actually, I'm not sure if he does the ad-libs on this one, but Dapwell is in the video, even though like I don't think he has any vocal contribution.
No,
the important thing to understand about Dapwell is he was their hype man, quote unquote. And after the band broke up, he said he was really sad that they broke up because it was a way for him to get money by doing absolutely nothing, and now he's sad that he can't get money by doing absolutely nothing.
I mean, I went to go see Pavement live, and when I was listening to the Pavement episode, they described Bob and Pavement as the director of vibes, and I didn't understand what that meant until I saw Pavement, and I was like, no, that is a job. Like, you can have that job in a band.
Like Dap is just there to kind of be good at it. The other two guys, it's they were such an important moment of just like dumb guy rap that I unfortunately like really appreciated until it turns out that they were like awful human beings.
we should get into that. One of them is a rapist and the other one is not a good guy either.
Well, the others are alleged. Like,
should we get into that?
Or we just
have to say it off the top.
Like,
is like,
yeah, we have avoided talking about like many canceled people that are just like, we don't really need to have those conversations. We unfortunately had to talk about an Ariel Pink song because it was like their song of the year that year. But like this one, it was a small enough contribution that it felt like it was worth including. And also, it's like we're saying, it's very emblematic of this particular period of time in hip hop, getting a lot of like critical acclaim and like blog love. Like, this is the blog era of rap music is what I think about first and foremost, is it being just like the period of time in between like the big rap publications like Vibe and The Source, like being the kind of like barometer of what rap music is, and then now like the kind of streaming era. Like, in between the two, you have this kind of wild west of internet rap music that is post physical media, but is pre like the internet as we know it today. And it's so cordoned off in time. And we're going to talk about another song from that era of music later this episode, so we can move on. But
I just to give some final thoughts, because I feel like I haven't got to get again. Again, they are trying to keep a crazy ass straight white boy down, not letting me speak on this episode.
Well, your internet was crapping out for like 5 minutes.
That was the main thing. But no, this song is fucking great. Again, here's the thing. Despite Das Racist being canceled, I will not say about Kool Aid's verse, but Heem's verse is fucking hilarious. The ad-libs. It's the best use of ad-libs.
We don't have to judge that. We don't have to weigh that against how bad they are, but they were actually entertaining. Like, I do.
I like, that's the thing, is Sit Down Man is like a really good tape. Like, I was like running that shit back.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff from this era, and I think Lil B always got incorrectly tagged as this. That it's like, the whole point is, it's like the way that people engage with Viper's
willfully stupid music.
Yes, no, like music that is bad on purpose, and the people that are doing it, it's 100% ironic. Das Racist was not that. It was like, these guys aren't even trying, and it's working like in spite of it, basically, was what it was. And that was, there was something cool about that, when then you realize that the whole them not even trying was more stemming out of them being like shitty people than it was like a cool artistic choice, you know, like
yeah, exactly. But like and just like, it is a shame that they suck, because like I feel like they are such a, you know, like
they're very foundational.
Exactly. It's like, just like the amount of stuff they inspired beyond them is kind of wild, and it's weird that nobody has like picked up their exact spot in, you know.
Yeah,
the
you're
greater
totally right.
scene.
I think part of that is just that it was so primed to exist at this particular time. Like,
Yeah, that is true.
If someone came around doing the DOS racist thing now, like it would resonate differently. It would have to, because it would have to be framed in some kind of different way.
Yeah, like I feel like the closest thing I can think of this is like Mike Eagle, where he's like doing like punchline rap.
Yeah,
but, you
I
know,
guess.
he's like doing it more as like a means of vulnerability rather than like a "I'm just joking, guys" kind of thing.
No, totally. Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyways,
But yeah,
let's move on.
This song is great. Despot's verse is great. I love the Das Racist verse. Danny Brown's again. Everyone here kills
Everyone
it.
was great.
Everyone here is great. Again, this
And
is one
like,
of the great posse. This is one of the best posse cut songs of all time, in my opinion. Like,
Yes,
it's
I
great.
agree completely. It is great.
I'll let
It's great.
y'all
Wow.
have
What we can do?
Aren't white people so crazy, guys?
Look,
Rihanna,
again,
I
that's
feel
my
like-
cross to bear.
Listen,
That's
I
my
have
cross to
never
bear.
not,
I know.
I keep telling you people every episode, I am a dork. You should not listen to my opinions ever. Like,
I'm starting to feel. We said there weren't going to be teams, but I feel like Rihanna and I are the closest thing there is to. I mean, actually, maybe you three are kind of on the same team right now.
We're about to start fighting again soon, so we'll just wait for that. But the next track is what I was saying before. Is this is the Goop on Your Grinch award of the episode. This is Nasty featuring Big Freedia by Spank Rock.
yeah, I think we
let's
just
hear-
put this
let's hear
one
a little
in
bit of
here.
this one. I mean, we put it in for the Goop on Your Grinch factor, but I also do like
It
Spank
kind of
Rock.
rips. I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, any
This is-
song with Big Freedia is automatically like a
I
7
mean,
out
yeah,
of 10
Big-
in my book. So
Big Freedia
like
tears it the fuck up. Oh
I
my
sent
God.
in the group chat today. I was like, "Who the fuck is Spank Rock?" Because I've never
don't
heard
know.
of Spank Rock before. But listening to this song, I was like, "I'm into it." Big Freedia
Spank rock
gives.
sounds like
Wait,
a
what
genre.
the fuck? Hang on, one second. They reviewed this track twice. Didn't give it best new track the first time, and then a month, like less than a month later.
No, I think the first one was like a track debut, and then the other one was like track review.
They really like thought about it for a couple months.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, see, it's just the track like.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had not heard this song before this episode. This one's pretty fun. It's
Yeah,
a fun
this one
song.
kind of rips.
Especially, I mean, once Big Freedia comes in, like it jumps up a level for
Exactly.
sure.
Once you get Freedia on for a guest spot, it's just like there's the energy you need. You don't need to do much else.
Besides this being like the sequel to Usher's Lil Freak, in that this is just when Pitchfork loves to give critical acclaim to stuff that's just whole thing is being really horny. But that's because some of the best music is stuff that's just really horny.
Exactly. Like
and-
sometimes you want to be a little freak.
And Spank Rock is a cool, underrated guy in that, like, I was describing him to the members of this chat earlier as basically like, what if Dizzy Rascal was from Baltimore instead of the UK? Essentially, like he's one of the
Who the hell is
earliest.
Dizzy Rascal?
Oh well,
Max, you don't know who that is?
he's the first UK grime rapper to cross over in America. Like he was
Don't
Skepta
gas
before.
me. You ever heard
He
that
was
one?
Skepta before Skepta was Skepta, essentially. He was like the original UK grime rapper that crossed over into America, and for a while UK people would be mad that like Dizzy Rascal was like the only person anyone knew that made grime music. But also the whole thing with grime music is just so weird because they just like act like they're like, what are you talking about? We invented this genre all on our own. We didn't take any influence from American rap music. It's like, no, like it's a different style because they rap over different kinds of beats. But like the reason why Spank Rock is cool is because in the same way that grime music takes influence from the electronic music scenes of the UK, like this is very Baltimore club. All of Spank Rock's music is very much inspired by Baltimore's club scene, which is one of the most
That's good for Baltimore.
one of the most underappreciated club scenes in America. Like along with Detroit and Chicago are obviously the ones that get mentioned all the time, but Baltimore has its own sound that is like kind of in between Jersey club and house and techno, I would just say. And it's very cool and foundational, and there are a lot of cool artists that have come out of Baltimore, like Spank Rock. And that first Spank Rock album is really good. I sent a track from it or in the chat earlier, Bump, that is a banger and a half. Check out
Spank Rock does win the Goop on Your Grinch award though, because like
Totally.
if you told me, like if you snuck in a fake song into this playlist, I would have said this one
Barely
like in a
March made this
heartbeat.
one.
No, that is the thing. I get why they gave it best new track because of what Spank Rock's kind of critical standing is among people that were both like very literate in dance music and rap music. But just like the big Freedia verse on this is incredible, and the performance of it is incredible. But it's just so fucking like the subtlety is on zero. Like it is absolute like horny on main all caps lock.
Mm-hmm. Just again, it's just fun. It's New Orleans bounce. It's fun. There's what else is there to say? I'm glad that we decided to put this on the playlist because again, it's like a very unique. It's just like I wouldn't have heard this otherwise. It rocks. And also again, it uses the same. Let me figure out what the sample is called. It uses I think
it
this
uses
song
the same sample as Death Grip's "To Heavens," I believe, is the one.
"To Heavens" or this is I think I want to say it's "To Heavens."
It's not. This is Violence now.
Yeah, no, hang on 1 second. "To Heavens." Yeah, Drag Rap of the Showboys. They both use the sample right here.
Yeah.
In very unique ways. Again, this one that's more in the background, Death Grips, it's like more built around that sample in some ways. I don't know. This song rocks. Let's just move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's the Goop Onion Grinch interlude of the week.
Oh, by the way, hang on. Because we were talking about other things during Neon Indian, I did not reveal my Obama ass song of the week. I should have done that during the discussion, but the Obama ass song of the week is "Polish Girl" by Neon Indian.
Yeah, that's not even a question, I think.
Yeah,
I have another candidate I want to bring up, but let's move on to the next song.
Well, let's move on.
I have a feeling I know what it is.
Actually, the next song might even not be a bad candidate. But
I
think that one too.
I think this next song is also my pick, Jackie. I feel like we're on the same page.
I actually had a different one in mind, but we'll get to that one too. But yes,
let's please talk about
it out.
Let's please talk about some bangers for once.
Yes,
I mean this one, it's in one ear out the other. Like at least with Lana's song, which I didn't really like personally enjoy that much. Like I could tell you something about it. This one I don't remember.
This is like what if Edward Sharpe from the Magnetic Zeros really decided to fucking freak it for once.
It's "Shake It Out" by Florence and the Machine, by the way.
I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. We need to just get into it.
Yeah.
Someone else share their takes first.
I've been saying Florence Welch isn't a real person for a while because she doesn't feel real to me. And like, I think she
probably isn't. I mean, the British have been known to lie before.
And she exists in the same spaces. Like, I think I confused Florence and the Machine with the Monsters and Men, and I just don't care in my mind to like separate the two. And so people talk about Florence Welch, and I kind of associate her with like kind of the Tumblr core that we've already been into. And it's like, oh yeah, like this is like I just kind of think of video games as like, oh, this is an overarching. Like this is probably what most of her music sounds like. And I've heard this song before, of course. But like I didn't associate the two with each other, and then like I heard this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a
this is an Urban Outfitter song. Especially once the chorus kicks in.
Urban Outfitter song.
This is extremely.
Once the chorus hits,
I think we talked about another song. We talked about Midnight Cities being the start of a new generation of like department store songs, essentially. And this is also in that way, where it's like hipster, department store bangers.
Yeah, I think this song is very Glee-core, and I know that they did this on Glee, but this is very like intertwined with Glee-core in my head. I was having a very interesting conversation at work with one of my coworkers about Florence and the Machine because we were talking, and she was like, Reanna, like previously we had talked about Halsey, right? And she was like, I don't really get Halsey. What about Halsey do you enjoy? And I was like, well, I was on Tumblr when I was a child, so Halsey kind of speaks to me in the same, like, Halsey, Marina and the Diamonds, Melanie Martinez, sans grooming allegations type of music.
That's crazy.
But here with Florence, there's something different there because I had mentioned to her that Florence didn't necessarily click with me, where, like, I listened to her most recent album, and all the songs sans like one or two kind of went in one ear and out the other. And I think part of the thing is, Max, it's like what you said, where you were like, Florence isn't a real person, and like I think that's why her music doesn't stick with me and doesn't necessarily stick with like a lot of like she doesn't really have stands the way that I see other artists have stands. And I think like that's to me because like she doesn't invoke any personality in her music. Her music is kind of this sort of like esoteric, like I am a fairy, I am untouchable vibes. But on the other hand of that, you have like a Bjork who all of her songs are very undeniably Bjork, and you listen to all of them and you're like, oh, that is crazy ass white girl status. Here it's kind of too esoteric for me to fully get behind. That's my sort of Florence take.
I definitely get that in some ways, but I also do think that like I don't know. I've always liked. So first of all, I've always liked Florence and the Machine. Definitely have. I'm not like a stan of hers, but I've liked her music more as her career has gone on. Generally, and especially the album before this most recent album, which has a name that I always forget.
It's the one with Hunger on it, right?
Yes, that album I think is fucking incredible. And
Yes,
spoiler alert, we will be talking about it on a bonus episode of this series. But
beautiful.
Like getting to what you're saying is, I think the thing that has changed over time in her music and is the reason why I like her 3 most recent albums more than her first 2 albums is because she's finally found a way to like insert like real life into her songs. Like South London Forever, which is my favorite Florence and the Machine song, is a song that is about like real life experiences happening in a way that immediately like makes me think of my real life and things that have happened to me in a way that her earlier music wasn't. And I think like the thing I was doing was I was researching the guy that produced this album and the one, because I don't like this song and I don't like this album. This is my least favorite Florence and the Machine album. I think that the first 2 hits, Dog Days Are Over and You've Got the Love, are fucking undeniable smash, like 10 out of 10, just like you're never gonna write a pop indie song that good in your fucking life. Like just like life change. And those songs like have a tweeness to them, like especially like what's it called, like one of those songs literally starts with ukulele. Like those songs are way more what you think of when you think of this era of kind of twee, kind of Tumblr, kind of like the beginning of Stomp Clap era indie rock, like you're saying, of Monsters and Men type stuff. Like the first album has a lot of those vibes, but then the second album is a lot more like trying to be classy and trying to be a little smoother. And I think it just really sands any edges off of her personality, which I do think she has an incredible fucking voice. It's a voice that's almost so good that it feels too perfect at times. Like
it's very singular.
Exactly. Like, I mean, not to name drop her for the second time in this episode, but Ethel Cain has said that like Florence and the Machine was her activation moment, not Lana Del Rey. Like Florence and the Machine was the artist that literally like activated the Ethel Cain robot and turned her into the artist that she is today. Like, and
is there a photo of Ethel at one of her concerts or something like that?
I think so, yeah. But like that was the first indie-ish music she ever heard in her entire life. But like I think that for a certain generation of people, like you're saying, she doesn't have stans. She kind of does. I definitely am familiar with some like mega Florence stans. But
what are they called?
I don't know what their name is. I'm not a sleeper agent.
They're the machine. They're the machine.
They are the titular machine. But going back to what's the fucking producer's name? I pulled it up before.
Steve Albini. I just learned he was a producer.
Steve Albini. No, because he's a Paul Epworth is the fucking dude's name. He co-writes he co-writes all the bad songs on the first Florence and the Machine album and neither of the big hits. And then he co-writes and produces all of Ceremonials, which is part of why I think it's the worst Florence record, is because you don't really feel her freak personality, or not even her freak personality, just like her very like particular singular like like you're saying eclectic, like that is there in the early Florence music, but it's all being filtered through this guy that is just like such a music biz professional, sand off the edges. Like this guy co-wrote and produced Rolling in the Deep by Adele in the same year that he did this album. He in fact did Adele 6 months before doing this second Florence album, and between doing the first album and the second Florence album, it really feels like all of a sudden becoming the Adele guy has broken this guy's brain, because he got his start as the producer of Block Party Silent Alarm. That was the album that he won the Mercury Prize for the first time. So like he's a really talented guy, but to give you an idea of why this guy is evil, he has a record label, and can you guess what the most successful artist on his record label is? Here's a hint. He produced this album's entire last album, which got them to an even bigger status, and he produced the big hit on the album.
1975?
No, Matty, even better. Sometimes Sometimes.
Glass Animals.
No, not Glass Animals.
All I think about is poo. That's right.
Oh no!
I knew. I was like, why do I recognize that name? And then it hit me. I was just like,
the guy that did the Block Party album and then got absolutely caked up off of being the Adele guy. In 1 year, he has a giant Florence and the Machine hit, and he has Adele's breakout album for which he wins 4 Grammys. And then he starts he owns a recording studio in London that, like, Frank recorded a lot of the Blonde stuff in his studio in London. Like, it's a very well used studio. But then, like, he also has a record label, and one of the other 2 artists are people you haven't heard of, and then one of them is Glass Animals, and he is directly responsible for Glass Animals becoming the big act they are today.
It's kind of like the Satisfactory of the UK.
So that's basically my long way of coming around to say, my very, very long way of saying that this is not my favorite Florence and the Machine single at all. It's good. Like, once the chorus kicks in, your brain just turns off, and it is very, like, in the way that all the great department store hits do for you, where you just like, my brain knows exactly how to just take this. But that, like you're saying, it kind of abstracts from the fact that there's a real person singing this that is actually a real person with, like, complex feelings and a kind of very distinct humanity that I've connected with more over the course of her career. But, like, in these early things, she does feel like a manic pixie dream girl come to life to sing you a song, essentially.
It's very esoteric. Like, it's and I say that as somebody that really likes esotericism. I have a Kate Bush tattoo, you know, like, it's not, these aren't foreign things for me. But I don't know, that untouchability is that, and that sort of lack of personality where, like, she is not Florence Welch, she's Florence and the Machine. Like, it's different, and that sort of separation kind of is what is off-putting to me. And even though this is, like, an undeniable hit, you know, like it's a very singular song, but I think that's why I resonate more with some of the songs later in her career, like Hunger, like, you know, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful, these tracks that, like, feel very hers, and she has fun with it. And as light and as sort of wistful that this song is, I don't think she's having very much fun with it. It feels very sort of, like, manufactured, and the first thing I said was, like, it's Glee core, because it feels like like Glee, like, everybody, the song they sing at the end when they're all together and they've resolved all their problems over the episode, you know, it's, like, very, like, oh, come here, give me a hug, sort of.
Yeah, totally.
I guess the pinnacle of Obama years, like, come on, brother, like, bring it in type songs that, like, I don't know, this is my Obama pick for the week.
Kind of think,
which I don't blame you for. It's like, it definitely would be in the top 3. I think the fact that it's British definitely, like, makes me not go full Obama ass. Like, whereas, like, Neon Indian, like, that is just like,
what is the exact qualification for being Obama ass pick of the week?
Okay, we did discuss on a podcast. It's really just kind of like, it's hard to put into words. You just kind of know it when you hear it, you know?
I think what Matty's trying to get across.
It's like, imagine going to a show at Glasslands in Brooklyn before that got shut down. That's
like basically, like, just trying to capture Obama era America specifically, and, like, the cultural vibe of, like, Parks and Recreation, essentially.
Yes. Okay. This is very Parks and Rec core to me.
Yes. Again,
absolutely.
like I said, I don't. Again, for Obama song of the week, this is not a bad. This is not a bad choice. I completely understand. It would probably be my top 3, but, like, for me, it's like, okay, it's like Neon Indian takes the edge a little bit more, but the song is good. This is a good song.
It is a good song. It's just it doesn't like I'm saying, like, I like the other creative direction more of her career much more, and I don't really go back to these early ones. But, like, if you put on either of those 2 songs from Lungs, like, I will go absolutely, like, feral. Like, those songs just, like, activate me still, and this song doesn't do that. This song is, like, if it comes on, I'm not gonna skip it. Like, it's very enjoyable while it's on. If it's coming on when I'm in the department store, I'm gonna have a nice time with it, but it is not my Florence song of choice, either from her more personal era or from her like poppier era. And like Reanna was saying, like, you really just feel him having just come off of doing Adele 21. He's like, okay, I know how to make you a star. You just need to fit into this mold that I'm going to make you fit into, and that just damps down all of her personality on that album. It's by far the most boring one, for sure.
Neon Indian is kind of like Obama at night. He's trying to do some work, maybe. maybe out on the town.
I think Neon Indian is a lot like Obama in that it's trying to appeal to bisexuals.
Yeah, well, and Shake It Out is kind of like Obama with the family out on the boat for a day, you know.
Let's talk about Oneohtrix Point Never because I'm gonna
let's get move on to Oneohtrix Point Never.
Let's get the funny white boys in.
Yeah, this is from the title. This is the title track to Replica, which I mean I'll just fucking play it.
I mean, just what a vibe this is. This is like. I feel horrible every time I listen to this song.
In a good way or bad way?
I don't know. That's the worst part is I don't
know.
It's.
I'll let everyone else share their thoughts. Why don't we put me last?
I still never know how I feel about Oneohtrix Point Never. He's one of those guys that I'm like, this is pretty good, but then also I'm just like never compelled to listen to him on like a let's throw this on kind of basis.
Yeah.
It's just like his music has such a unique vibe that I'm never like in the mood for.
I feel you kind of similarly. I really enjoy R+7. I think that's the only Oneohtrix Point Never album.
I like Replica a lot. I like Magic, OPN. I really like Age Up more than a lot of most people do because I think
Age Up is underrated.
I think his vocal tracks are like really good and he should do more of those.
Yeah, this song is just this is a great song. Like it's one of those songs that like for me my OPM preference goes more towards like R+7, but like going back to this is just like like ambient music is very hard for me to talk about, especially just because like I'm not as like into it as like Jackie is or like Dylan is, but like listening to this, it just sort of brings up emotions that I just can't really fully like comprehend without compromising myself in some ways. Yeah. It just makes me think of like a specific time and era in my life that fills me with sort of like this weird mixture of like nostalgia and pain and, you know, sort of like in other ways trauma. It's just sort of like, and it's just really just like a very like simple kind of like piano song. It's very much in the vein. I mean, the best new track review, said, cites April 14th. I think it's a very similar. Although definitely there's still more of the
thing I was going to compare it to that it immediately reminded of is it feels like a Oneohtrix doing a James Blake song right after James Blake.
Yeah,
that's what it really feels like.
I would definitely
basically listening to James Blake's music and thinking like, what if I just didn't sing on this and just used a kind of piano line like this as the sort of backbone for this like hazier, and I definitely think this is the right choice as a single from Replica without even starting my rant yet. Like this is definitely the song that like stands out most as a kind of standalone track from this album.
Yeah, like Replica's is a solid record. It's not my OP in a preference, even though this is definitely like his big breakthrough record for a lot of music critics. But yeah, this is just like it's a really great song. It's like I'm looking. Let me think. Like I don't think this is my favorite song of the week, but I think it's in my top 3. I would say for this week. Like
okay, I
it's
know
like
what my favorites
it's probably like
I'm
Monopoly,
sure.
Last Is On. This song are my top 3 this week.
Yeah, so top 3 for me are probably Monopoly, Cruel, Huzzah. Like I feel like that's why I gotta go. I'd have to think about it though.
I'm sorry. I'm hearing a lot of top 3s here that don't include the song that we're talking about next, and I'm about to fight.
I'll get into my feelings on that.
I'm fully dormant for the Danny discussion because I'm conserving my energy.
Yes.
Just know that, like,
oh yeah, I kind of
we can't get to it.
The thing with 2 and 2 is that it almost transcends a top 3. It's just like it's in its own tier of song.
Way to blow the load on what's coming next, Matty.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it.
Let's stay on Oneohtrix Point Neverland
about ASAP Rocky Palace.
God damn it. Okay, Oneohtrix Point Never. This is my favorite Oneohtrix Point Never album. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's probably in my top 10. It might even be in my top 5. I think this is just one of the greatest albums ever made.
This is also my favorite album because I think like I like the more animated stuff, like Up especially is like one of my favorite songs of his.
Yeah,
just something about those drums.
The thing that is I stuck with me as far as things people have said about this album is that Al what's his name? Al Carson is one of the two people that produced. It's co-produced by Joel Ford, who is the Ford of Ford and Lopatin, which is Danny's like a synth pop album that he makes around this time. It's really good and really underrated. But Joel Ford co-produces this with Al. And the funny thing about Al, which I saved this for on air because I knew Reanna would appreciate this. Reanna, so Al, this guy is a studio engineer, has worked on a million things. But do you want to know what else this guy was working on in 2011 at the same time he was working on Oneohtrix Point Never's Replica?
I feel like I have an idea, but hit me.
He was a mixing assistant on Born This Way
I
by none
knew
other
it.
than Lady Gaga.
I knew it. I said, in my head, I was like, what other album came out in 2011? Oh, bitch.
And immediately... But like, isn't that so funny that the person that was working
That's
on
pretty cool.
Government Hooker was going over to work on this? Like, but the thing that he said about it is that their whole thesis of the record is summed up by Child Soldier, is that it's smooth and aggressive at the same time. It's ambient music in that a lot of the tones are these really drawn out, long tail sounds that just sort of, like the piano in this, that just like echo in the space for long periods of time. And those are contrasted with these like really upfront, like aggressive, like sounds that aren't hitting hard. There's like not any drums really on this album, and like the times they do use percussion, it's like voice loops usually, like that one song, Sleep Persuasion or whatever it's called. But yeah, this album, it hits for me in a way that all the other Oneohtrix Point Never albums don't, even though I love literally every album that he's made at this point. Yes, I was someone that was more like you, Max, or like you, Rose, that's just sort of like, I like this and I definitely admire aspects of it, but I'm very rarely in the mood to listen to this. And then all of a sudden something clicked in my ambient music brain where like, oh, I just throw on this album a lot.
Well, like, I really love it. I'm not like trying to discount it at all. It's just like I cannot imagine the headspace I would have to be into.
For me, that's me with R+7 more. Is like R+7 is an album I love.
No, that like this at least, like I can see why I'd want to listen to it, but like with R+7, I don't get that record.
I have to be either on a lot of drugs or in a really weird non-drugs headspace, or both, to be like, I want to listen to all of R+7 right now. But this album goes down so smoothly for me, and I think this is a great example of it, where it like does feel haunted in the way that Opian's best stuff feels kind of haunted and wrong and uncanny valley, but it's not doing so in a way that takes you out of the kind of smooth listening experience that they're also trying to create at the same time.
R+7 was an album that I listened to a lot on my nighttime drives.
Yes.
And also, like, when I worked at a scout camp, like a 17-year-old told me to listen to Opian and get really into him. And I was like 19 at the time, and I tried. I was like, hell nah. And then I came back 2 or 3 years later, and I was like, you know what? That kid was right, and I never told him. Maybe that was my fault.
But yeah, this is a great song. It's a great album. I cried listening to Child Soldier earlier. It's just a very like deeply sad piece of music that also I think transcends just being a piece of sound art, and is the kind of thing where like if you want to write an essay about how this album is like a reflection of like America, like if you want to go full PhD like critical analysis mode on this, I think it's music that genuinely is of like deserving of that kind of like pointy headedness, because I think it is really what Alexis of the Hot Singles podcast said is like this album, but also the Chuck Person's Echo Jams album, like the way that those albums taught me to listen to music like fundamentally changed the way that I think about like art and music and stuff like that. Like it really is a very like break my brain open in terms of how I perceive music in general, and like that's something I've really carried with me forever. But that's enough nerd shit. We have more important. Anyone have any stray Replica thoughts they want to get off, or do we just need to get to the main event? The main event of this episode, folks.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I've been fully awakened. What did I miss?
I've been waiting for this moment since we started this series. This was like really. I mean, this is, besides House of Balloons, the best song we've talked about yet. It's the best song of the week.
This was the second ever time I'd listened to this song. Like,
ever. Just crazy.
On the contrary, this might have been the 200th or maybe the 2000th time I've listened to this song. This is probably my most listened to song throughout my entire life.
Because like I feel like my
We
mood
listen to
on
the
it is
whole
going to
thing.
entirely swing
We're
down.
not
Absolutely.
If we listen to all of the last
Okay.
Huzzah, we have to listen to all of those.
Okay, I want everyone
Yes,
be quiet.
absolutely.
Everyone quiet. We gotta let a legend speak, so quiet down. You know it as soon as you hear it.
Weddings,
Undeniable
graduations,
beat.
funerals, clubs, parties, your homework, school, anywhere. 212.
Another club.
Throwing this
Bus.
on at the last night of a wedding reception with an open bar. Oh my god, I haven't been there yet, but if I was.
This is
I'm
the
re-
one
I'm
song
reading
that
the track
defined
review.
it. What?
I was gonna say I'm reading the track review for the first time. She was 19 years old when this came out. That's nuts.
I don't know if I like this, but it's compelling is the thing. Like I'm just like
It
you
gets the
kind of
people
can't.
going.
You sit here and you're like, I kind of can't deny this.
I guess that can't get any in. Anybody else?
I love all
Anybody
the song.
else?
I love the whole song. I love the whole thing, but this is when the song goes into hyperdrive excellence.
Are you using the 212?
Again, like
that synth lead is just like
I don't understand what's going on anymore. I'm just like I'm like lost in the ether right now.
I love the voice she does on the verses so much. I think the way that she says words on this song is like I said this in the chat, but the Nicki Minaj fake British voice walked so that Azalea's whatever voice this is could fly.
Brittany on
Essentially.
Scream and Shout is quaking.
Anything you can say about Azealia Banks? So many artists would kill to have one singular song as good as
100%.
Oh yeah, like for better or worse, like I can tell where this is influenced like so much in the decade. It's just like how is anyone else ever gonna match this kind of influence?
This is genuinely, and I mean this without I say a lot of things with hyperbole, but I genuinely believe this is maybe the best song of the past 50 years of music. Like straight up,
I'm willing to hear that argument 100%.
I no gas. Like the way that I can like you said that you could do like a pointy-headed analysis of Replica. Like I could do that with 212, and the way that it's segmented into like 5 different separate songs, each of which would be goated on their own, and then you put all of them together, and then you give it to Azealia Banks, who does this unapologetically. It's kind of crazy. Like,
yeah,
it's just like mind-boggling. Like I'm at a loss for words. This is maybe my favorite song of all time.
the amount of charisma in every fucking thing she does in this song, like the amount of like just mustard she's putting on every single word that she says. I mean, what's your dick like, homie? What are you into? Iconic, classic.
It's just like such an insane and direct statement from somebody who is just singularly deranged. Like this is the distillation of who Azealia Banks is, for better and for worse. And
100%.
honestly, for everything that she said and everything that she's done, I think that this kind of, that's why everybody puts up with it. Because if you make 212, if you make Anna Wintour, if you make 1991, you make all of these amazing songs. It's like, shit, like that's the thing that's in my head. It's like, oh, she said something transphobic again, fuck, but it's, you know, she made 212. Okay.
Literally, like going back to your point about it being like 5 different songs, I don't love the like bridge. Essentially, that's like the one part of the song that I don't.
Where she's like singing, the one where she's like, hey,
that part. I'm just like, it's fine. It's not. It just feels like that one part is the only part of the song.
But
that
it's
feels
necessary.
It's only. But that's the thing is, you're exactly right, because when she comes back in with the fucking like yelly vocals, like it's so worth it for the payoff. You're exactly right.
That's the thing. It's like it literally is 5 separate songs, all goated in their own ways, because like I agree the bridge is maybe my least favorite part, but that bridge is it's necessary. Like it's like you need that space to cool off, because you can come back in twice as hard. And 100%. I don't know who the fuck Lazy J is, but I thank you, good sir.
I
would
just
say
think
she lifted the beat from him, and that's why it's credited.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But
well, this beat kicks ass. So
yeah, no, seriously, like we just went through this week Drake his surprise drop torture of dropping an album out of nowhere on an already busy release week, and forcing people like me that are diseased into checking out all new music that's relevant. Into wasting it was fine. It's okay. We don't need to get into our opinions on it, but like I just think it's funny that like we're in 2022 and Drake is and people are like, wow, Drake's rapping over house beats. This is really like exciting, interesting. It's like, bitch, like Azealia Banks was doing this 10 years ago, and guess what? No one sounds like her still. Like
literally,
people have had 10 years to try to replicate what she's doing here, and no one else is fucking touching it.
I saw a very harebrained take on Twitter from a white gay, and I don't trust white people, so let's start there.
Understandable.
But there was a tweet from like a white gay on Twitter that was like, oh, like Drake wants to be Azealia Banks so bad. And on one level I was like, okay, relax. But then I was like, honestly though, like Azalea's impact is very, very understated in the same way that like I feel like, how people say the thing that's like that's like Velvet Underground, right? Like only 100 people listen to the album or something, and then everybody that listened to it went to start a band. It's like 212, like maybe to the general sort of pop music listening populace, like is a song that people don't know. But if you're into music and you're also gay, this is like your North Star. And that's the thing. Like I heard this in college, maybe like I'm gonna say out of my house like 2 or 3 times a week. Like not even played by my own. Everybody, this song united a generation. I don't think that's like hyperbolic to say. Because for 100%. Me, if you're like a messy queer, it's like this is the song, nothing quite touches it.
Yeah, I hadn't really heard the song until a couple years ago or something, but the second I'd heard about it, but I'd never taken the time to listen. And as soon as it touched my ears, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand. I didn't even have to hear her talk. It was like, yeah, okay.
This is not a you had to be here thing. This is, even if you don't love it as much as the people that have been obsessed with it for years do, like it hits and you're like, oh, I see now why people are so willing to put up with like Azealia Banks does blank thing for the 1 millionth time.
That's the thing with Azealia, right? Because it's like she does so much all of the time, and I say that with like a capital S, capital M, so much, and it's like I kind of just brush it off. It's like, okay, this week she's saying anti-vax shit, and I can really just kind of like go very in depth on Azealia and how the public eye treats her, and I think she's very mistreated when it comes to the sort of like analysis of celebrity, and I think there's a lot of misogynoir packed into that. But I think that aside from that, it's like she made like she made 212. Like I really have nothing to say. Like it's like she could do whatever she wants. Okay, she's killing chickens in her fucking closet. Cool. I don't care. Like, all right, I'm gonna fucking turn on Licorice again. Like, who gives a shit?
Like going back to what you were saying about this being like containing both the everything that would come after this, and like how this has both the bad and the good. Like one of the very first things she told you is, word to who made ya, I'm a rude bitch. Like she told us exactly who she was. This song was not like at the same time that we feel like maybe we haven't seen the promise of her career like fulfilled the way we would like it to, because of how great the song is and how we should have like 15 212s. But then also like the reasons why that didn't happen are contained within this song in a way that I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the Future Islands Tonight Show performance in their own separate ways. I'm not going to get into it. You can just...
that is the whitest thing anyone said on this podcast.
I know.
So far.
My face went blank. I don't know. You can't see it because it's a podcast. But
I've never watched it, but I've just... the way people talk about it.
Oh, you should. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't compare it to 212, but the Future Islands performance does rule.
Yeah, that Future Islands performance.
Are we gonna get to that? Is there a Future?
I don't think they're on here at all.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry for mentioning.
Gotcha.
Future Islands. That's my fault.
Listen, and speaking of overrated things, the next song.
Yeah, we can't say anything else about 212. There is nothing else you can say about 212 except for the fact that this still sounds like the future. Like this could come out today and it would go absolutely fucking nuts. And also there have been 10 years of people trying to just see like, oh, we could just rap over house beats and it'll be the same. No, it's not. Like the way that she just fits like a million syllables into this song and the way that she just like keeps flowing over the top of herself basically is just like the coolest thing in the world. I'm addicted to it.
It's timeless. It is a classic. Whoever wants to pay me however much money to go long on Azealia, to write the 33 and a third about Azealia Banks, please bang my line. There's am ready
no one
and
else
willing.
You should write that, truly.
Yeah, not a second is wasted into N2. Let's move on.
So next song, let me just give you a list of acclaims that Pitchfork gave us. It was the number one song of 2012.
Agree.
It was the number one song of the decade so far at the end of 2014.
Agreed.
Okay.
The number two song of the decade, of the entire decade.
Yeah.
No.
That's just
this
your
song
opinion, Rose.
is like severely
like,
overrated.
I don't know what you want us to say.
Going back to it, I was like, oh, I remember liking this a lot, and now I just like I fully loathe Grimes. It's something about her is just like so insufferably.
Say what you will about Grimes, I can't make the music not hit.
Yeah.
Listen, Visions used to hit. That used to be like one of my favorite records of the decade, and now I can't go back to it. Now I'm just like,
I'm sorry for you.
It feels so hollow to me. I'm
Turn
just
it
like,
up a little bit, Matty.
Yeah,
just shout out Rose.
I get what you mean, Rose, but
she promised us a revolution, and instead she gave us like some nonsense with Elon Musk.
I think you're a little bit letting your opinion of her, which is the correct opinion to have, color what. Well, this music has
I feel
purely
like
an aesthetic
level.
Like,
it's the same problem as Annie Clark, where it's like, everyone was like, well, this is the guy, right? And like, slowly she was revealed that she only had a few good ideas, and like
she played the fuck out of them, and they worked.
And it's just frustrating to me because like the new bad stuff has so heavily colored my perception of this one album that I think is good, because I think Art Angel sucks too.
Well, that's where you're wrong. That's the thing.
I've always hated Art Angels. Like,
my opinion of Grimes as it stands is exactly what Larry Fitzmaurice said about Grimes on Twitter the other day, is that like she's one of the greatest artists of her generation, and she's also an idiot, and she's also far from the first person who is a good artist to also be an idiot in other ways. Like
that's very. I was gonna say it's a very classic thing of separating the artist from the art,
and like I'm way better at doing this now in the sort of post Kanye West era of my life, in where I was I was forced to sort of create these like healthy boundaries, where now like besides like certain canceled people where it's just like I don't want to hear their voice in my ears because it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like
Mark Kozilek. Sorry.
Yes, that's literally what I was referring to. But like what I'm like with this in particular, like I think you're right that it's easy to like see it as hollow because we now know that there isn't a there, that it's not like this person has a unique and interesting take on like humanity and technology and like where we are as humans. But here's the thing, she made some damn slappers, and also those slappers are able to crystallize certain elements of other things that should be like replicable, and they aren't. Like the way that she just combines like her influences and melds them in this way that creates something so distinct is just like, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know how to articulate it. Mm-hmm. But like there's so much music after Grimes that is trying to sound like the best Grimes stuff does, and
it doesn't.
Only occasionally do you get something like the song "You Lose" by Magdalena Bay that like half scratches that itch. But
see, I hate that too. So like, I'm happy if I can slander Grimes if it means I get to slander Magdalena Bay.
Listen. I'm gonna. Let me be the Grimes stan in the chat.
Please
okay,
do.
I'm with you.
I think this is one of the best made songs maybe ever, and I said this in the chat before. It's very funny how like, to me, 3 of the best written songs that like I've ever heard are on this episode, between Video Games, Oblivion, and 212. And yes, that's like the essential like palette, but also it's like
God damn.
You mean it's a specific flavor of Tumblr?
it is. I mean, it's
I should have known with this crew a sword would get invoked.
Listen. I'm talking about Grimes.
Okay.
Let me be an F word. But
No worries.
I think that like in the grand scheme of Grimes, I think like yeah, the Elon stuff is the Elon stuff, and like now, you know, she puts out shit like Player of Games, and it's like, okay. But I think at the time it's like when this came out, nothing sounds like it, and like you said, Jackie, nothing has sounded like it since. And it's like again, like a very singular song in its place and time. And it evokes a similar feeling to the sort of Oneohtrix Point Never or similar ambient songs, like that sort of like wistfulness and deep-seated feeling, where the first several times I listened to the song, I couldn't understand the lyrics, and if I remember correctly, the song is about a sexual assault that Claire experienced.
Yes.
Which kind of clouds how the song sounds, and it kind of puts a sort of I'm gonna say, I don't know, regretful wistfulness on it, or sort of like I compare it to like a loss of innocence, where it's like the song kind of feels very childish and Disney, and then has this sort of dark undertone to it. And I don't know, it evokes very strong feelings in me, even when I couldn't understand the lyrics, that very few songs do. And I don't know, I think it's just a banger. Like Grimes can do whatever she wants. I can't make the songs not hit. And the fact that she recorded this on GarageBand in a crack den is even more props to her for fucking making this song.
I mean, like, going kind of pointy headed mode again, but in a way that we talked about with the House of Balloons Weekend song, is like what Matty has said about that album, and like why you can sort of go like 1,000 feet history mode and sort of analyze a lot of this music, where like in addition to all of the kind of Obama era like sunshiny optimism, you have this weird undercurrent of darkness that does run through a lot of this music that really starts to bubble up in like 2011, like right around here, where you have these people that are like, we're living in what we're kind of being sold as like this golden era, but actually things kind of still suck, and so I'm just doing drugs and hanging out in a crack den in the case of Grimes, or in the case of The Weeknd, doing coke off of glass tables,
going with your lover on a houseboat down a Canadian river, you know, just normal,
exactly.
normal,
but just like doing like these kind of hedonistic things, and kind of like you're saying that sort of just like empty nihilism that was right under the surface, and
it's
the way
extremely nihilistic. I that's the word.
And the fact that it is, like you're saying, being sort of Trojan horsed in through music that does have a lot of similarities with the stuff that is getting really popular right now, like the kind of like really bright sugar like synth pop stuff, and like the way that this song manages to get across that hauntedness. And then you have the video for this song, which I hadn't actually seen this video.
The video is great. Like
until
I gotta
recently,
admit, that is like
until recently I finally saw this video for the first time. I was like, holy shit, if I had seen this at the time, I would have been a Grimes super fan right away. It is one of the most stunning music videos of the entire decade by far, and is a reminder that like, just because we don't really have budgets for music videos anymore doesn't mean music videos can't be really fucking sick. Like, this music video is literally just Grimes, like,
dancing, lip-syncing around
in stadiums, lip-syncing to her song. And there is something, I think, like, going back to the point I was making, there's something so strange, about seeing Grimes at any sporting event, just like the discordance of that on its own, but the idea that this person is going through this emotional experience that is kind of like so detached from everything that's going around them, and it's causing like all of these settings and surroundings and things that you're familiar with to feel really strange and alien, like because you're watching Grimes walk through the halls of this sports arena. It doesn't feel like a sports arena normally feels like when it's depicted on screen. It just feels like this weird alien place because she feels so out of place in it. And like, I don't know, it's just a really stunningly shot video that just immediately like, but like that's the thing, is that once you know that this person's idea of really like you can project all those things onto the music because she's so talented at making the sounds that once you learn that her actual personality is like, I'm gonna go have the picture taken of me reading the Communist Manifesto in public.
Maybe techno-fascism is cool, actually, guys.
That is a good. You're right. It was a good bit when she did that.
It was a good bit. I don't know. It's like this song kind of accesses it sounds like trauma to me, and I'm not off put by it. And that I think is why I love it so much, because I listen, and I said before, a sort of regretful wistfulness, and that's how I feel about a lot of things that like have happened to me in my life. And I listen to this and it sounds like that, and it sounds how I feel, and that I think is a really singular experience. And like Jackie, what you were saying about pop from this era in like a very pointy headed way, being very bright and sugary, and then we sort of transition into this like dark, like everything sucks vibe. I think that like Grimes excels at this because she can straddle both lanes. In one hand, she has the Lana Del Rey thing down. Right, Lana Del Rey thing, as we previously discussed, in this sort of like nihilistic, everything is, you know, harder than it appears to be, whatever, in surface level. But the other hand is like Grimes is a very like, she is a small waifish woman that has sort of Disney princess-esque features, and you know, it for the sake of her image, she kind of infantilizes herself a little bit in her music and the way that she presents herself, and that kind of speaks to the sort of pop spear that's like happening in mainstream pop music, and that sort of realm. And like that's why she can make a song like this and then go on to make something like Art Angels, which is very quintessentially 2015 pop in my eyes, because it's like she can sort of have a foothold in both worlds of like dark, sort of nihilistic, pessimistic pop music, and then the bright and shininess that she kind of gets into on other songs on Visions, but also like on the entirety of Art Angels. It's a very interesting thing that she does, and that's why like now I kind of, similar to Azealia Banks, kind of brush things off aside, because I see Grimes' career as more of like a performance art piece rather than like an actual career that an actual person holds, because I feel like the things that Grimes does, it need to be studied rather than necessarily like critiqued or discussed, you know?
I feel that heavily.
Yeah.
I think like what you were saying was a good point, and like a stark contrast to the Stomp Clap Hey era that we're like right in the middle and having Oblivion feel like a lot darker, even through the undertones of being.
I'm curious, Reanna, have you listened to Nicole Dollanganger much?
I haven't. My editor recommended her to me after I loved Ethel Cain.
You need to fucking listen to Natural Born Losers soon, not only because it is very, very foundational to, like, Ethel Cain is essentially like connecting the dots between Florence and the Machine and Nicole Dollanganger, but also because Nicole Dollanganger is the only artist that Grimes has released music on the record label that she essentially created to release Nicole Dollanganger's music. And didn't bother signing anyone else. And also I think they met because Nicole Dollanganger opened on a tour that was Lana, Grimes, and Nicole, which is literally just like where we're getting back to this sort of like what you're saying is it's like that vulnerability that is so essential to all of their music, and a lot of that can be really easily dismissed as like edgelordy. Like a lot of Nicole Dollanganger's lyrics are like her talking about like being assaulted by people, or like BDSM stuff, or like I love it when it hurts, and it's very easy to kind of like trivialize that, I think, or like say that that's like unhealthy and that people shouldn't just participate in it at all, which was the point I was kind of trying to make earlier. But like I do think that there's something very like powerful that can be derived out of that, and also there are just so many people for whom that is their experience of their life, and that they have no other way but to and then you can criticize whether they're glamorizing it or not. You can criticize whether depiction equals endorsement and whatever, but I think that there is something special about this music that I really connect with in Nicole's music and in Lana's music and in Ethel's music. Like they're all in the kind of same camp in many ways, even though they have a lot of very distinct differences.
It's a vulnerability aspect, and like
Yes.
I don't know. I mentioned that this song kind of feels like processing trauma in like an auditory form, and I think that for me is like the song kind of makes me feel like I'm floating and makes me feel like I'm listening to disassociating. And I think Grimes does that really well in that sort of vulnerability where she harnesses her emotions and real feelings and kind of puts it into music. And even in her later career where she's dropping albums that are like stunningly mid, but you have songs like Delete Forever that like still tap into what Grimes is good at. And it's kind of harnessing this sort of innocence and this sort of like childish trauma feeling. I don't even know how to describe it because it's so like intangible to me. But she really likes to put that in songs, and I don't know, that speaks to me. You know, like I will always go up to bat for Grimes because of these reasons.
And to give a very straight white boy perspective on Grimes, I've never really connected too hard to any of her songs lyrically. But also, she's obviously above like FIFA core music, and I feel like this episode is kind of warranted me bringing this up again a little bit. But I feel like if you took the ideas of like what FIFA core could be in its best possible iteration, that is what Grimes like does for a lot of her career. I feel like Art Angels especially, like she was just doing stuff. I understand if you're like, you know, this isn't your bag, but like I really feel like Grimes was kind of operating in the mid 2010s with like on a level that not many other people. I mean, I'm guessing there were replicants or people that were trying to do the same thing, but very few could like achieve the same highs I think she did on.
Yeah, it's taking something that could be very surface level and very like trivial and turning it into something very meaningful. Like taking those like the FIFA core music aesthetics, which is like car commercial, twee, like indie pop essentially, and saying like, oh, there's something appealing about this to people. What if we could extract that appealing thing out and apply it in a much more thoughtful, artful sort of way? And that's exactly what I do like about Grimes music when it really works well.
I think that like it's and one of my last thoughts on this is like it's very fitting to put Grimes after Azealia Banks because of their inherent beef and their inherent drama, which I will not get into on this podcast, but Azealia Banks was trapped in Grimes and Elon's house for a minute, and that was very funny. But I don't know. I think like what you said about kind of Grimes taking these FIFA core aesthetics and then making them meaningful, I think it's very fitting because I think Azealia Banks kind of takes the meaning out of a lot of things. And I enjoy that. And there's sort of parallels between the two, not only in their personal lives, but also the way their music is and the things that it conveys, because I think Grimes is when you put too much meaning into songs, and I think Azealia Banks is when you take all the meaning out, and they kind of are still in this sort of handshake meme of similar vibes in their songs, which I think is really interesting because they're in essence the same type of people doing very similar types of music, just down these different lanes of I'm only going to make party music and I'm going to make these pop songs that have all of this deep meaning in it that may or may not be relevant, you know? I don't know. Oblivion rocks. Is it the best song of the decade? I think that goes to 212, but this is a very close second.
Damn.
Alrighty then.
I could go long on Grimes, I'm telling you. Like, I could write like 10K words on techno-futurism and Grimes and trauma through technology, etc., etc.
Yeah, I would read that shit.
Yeah.
Listen, your points are compelling.
Space.
I just like I'm one of those people who like chronically cannot separate my opinions of art from artists who make them, because like, you know, I see the personality of the person that outputs, and it just feels so inherently tied to the way I perceive their music.
Oomph only listening to Peppa Pig out here.
What? I'm sorry. I'm like so out of it that I'm not following what you're saying there at all.
No, I mean, it's like, because I don't know, when you like take the personality out of everybody you listen to, I feel like you're only left with like something that has no personality, like a Coco Melon.
Well, just like for me, it's just like I can't separate the two because I just like I see this and y'all.
Right,
I'm
we
like
have more
trying
songs
to
to
make
talk about. We're like
my
2
brain
hours
is
in.
like.
No, I get what
Listen,
you're trying
my
to say.
brain
Rose.
is trying to make a point here, and y'all keep like
up!
interrupting me.
Shut
I'm trying
up!
to make an actual
Enough
point.
about Grimes. We had the thoughts are out there. We're done. No more discourse. No more arguing. I don't want to hear it. I kept my mouth
I'm
shut
not
for a
I'm not
reason.
trying to
Rose,
argue.
let's
I'm
move on to
literally
our
just trying to
next
get like a
song. Our
stupid
next
point
song
out
is
there, and you're
Palace
being
by
a dick about
ASAP
it.
I
Rocky
was in 2-1-2.
from his
You
breakthrough
are being a dick
mixtape.
about it, Matty. I'm genuinely annoyed right now.
I'm sorry. I just don't want to talk about Grimes any longer than we need to. We heard some good thoughts or some bad thoughts. I just want to move on from Grimes. Again, and this is not an insult to whatever user in. This is not an insult to any discussion we just had. It's just like, hey, let's not argue about it further if we don't need to. We're already over 2 hours in.
We do need to wrap. We have a couple more songs to talk about. The next song. What's our next song? I keep losing the fucking playlist.
It is ASAP Rocky's
Palace.
It's Palace. It's Palace time. Okay, well then
it is the song that like I could not listen to because for some reason this was the first album in my library alphabetically for some reason. So every time I would accidentally hit play on my keyboard, this song would start playing and I would get really annoyed.
No, yeah, that I said before, that does ruin any, like, whatever the song that
I don't even listen to this guy like casually. I just had it downloaded for some reason. Just like
exactly like A Punk by Vampire Weekend is a classic song like this that tends to be the first song in your iPod. Or also I had Angel Dust by Mac Miller was the song that would play when I would plug my phone into my car for a while. Like, it will ruin a piece of music for you to have to hear the first 5 seconds of it involuntarily,
especially
over and
the
over
first
again.
5 seconds of this, which I think is just like so like
it's quite a it dips you in the deep end right away of the Clams Casino-iness of it. But let's listen to a little bit of Palace by ASAP Rocky. And
I like this song.
I will try not to talk too long about this.
I mean, that beat is great, but just like, I hear that like beat drop and my brain just goes, oh no, did I hit the keyboard again?
I have a lot of, I guess, penance in my heart for A$AP Rocky. I let a lot of what he does slide because I think he can make stuff like this every now and again. So I let him live.
I have a different... I liked A$AP. I love A$AP Rocky in a certain era of his career, and even like stuck up for like I liked At Long Last A$AP more than most people. I would say
there's a song coming up in the series. I'm not going to be able to defend my enjoyment of it.
No,
it's really
there's a lot of A$AP stuff that hasn't aged as well. There's a lot of A$AP stuff that like I went back to this whole mixtape this week, and it's fascinating how well it has aged and how horribly it has aged at the same time. It's genuinely fascinating. And I think the main kind of split in that aging is that A$AP Rocky is not very good at rapping on almost all of this mixtape. And that was something that was leveled at him at the time. Definitely. It's not like people were just like, this guy is an amazing rapper. He was just charismatic enough that it didn't sync all of these songs, and these songs are carried by production and almost entirely carried by the production of literally one guy, which is Clams Casino, who produces 3 of the first 4 songs on this album, and then he produces the last 2 songs on this album. So literally this album is a Clams Casino sandwich, where if you take all the Clams Casino beats off of this album, it is not a very distinctive album production wise, outside of like a couple of specific choices that run throughout it, which are mainly the influence of Houston rap music, which like Houston Old Head is very much a specific reference to that. And I think that was the thing that got talked about most with A$AP Rocky early on, is him being like the symbol of the post-regional rap music, and the idea that this guy from New York was just like, oh, I listened to stuff from Houston. I'm going to take that sound and I'm going to blend it with what I do and create something new. And that was sort of the genius of what Yams was really good at, is like putting these people and these ideas together and these things that he was obsessed with and finding ways to just mix them together. But like, if you take the Clams Casino beats off of this tape, it sounds really dated to its time. And it also sounds like A$AP Rocky can't rap very well at all. Like, it is staggering how not like confident and charismatic he sounds kind of now, but at the same time, like, these Clams Casino beats were just so fucking great that they started. I think a thing I've realized in the last 10 years is there are a lot of times people try to start a genre that is they're really just describing the sound of one artist, and they're sounding people that kind of sound like that one artist. But like with hyper pop, it's really like there's Sophie, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's kind of around that. And like in a similar way, like I think that's what Clams Casino was, is that people tried to make cloud rap a genre when really it was actually, no, there was this one guy who was doing this one specific thing that was so fucking distinct and memorable that it just sort of became an entire movement. And I won't do the whole Clams Casino context dive because we're 2 hours into this fucking episode, but I will just say that like he is one of the most influential artists in my entire life. I think that the way that he uses sample material, the way that he thinks about texture specifically, and how like in this era of like vaporwave music, like the whole premise of these songs is that he takes these big cavernous beats that have so much reverb on them and like stretches a vocal sample across them like it's this like texture thing. And it's why I'm obsessed with shoegaze now. It's why I like pretty brain scratch noises. Like I am obsessed with Clams Casino. Smoking weed and listening to Clams Casino, like we're saying the overused phrase this episode, permanently rewired my brain. And that's why, even though A$AP Rocky is kind of not talented, this song rules, and why this tape rules.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say.
Yeah, there's not much else to say. I'm a little more negative on Rocky than you are in the song, but like the beat's undeniable, and it's just like you can't not recognize the impact that this mixtape had.
Clams tracks on this album. Like, it's a pretty fine song, but I much prefer bass. I much prefer What's Up. Even like Demons or Sandman. Like, I do think also Brand New Guy is the one moment on this album where like the rapping is actually good. I love Brand New Guy. It's so great. But also Schoolboy Q like is way better than him on that song.
Yeah, already done.
That's really all we have to say about this.
Yeah, let's move on to our next song, or our final song of the evening, actually, which is a contentious one in chat, which is Cloud Nothings.
If it was contentious.
I guess contentious insofar as it seemed like everyone was kind of ganging up on Cloud Nothings, and I was just like, I'm not gonna say like, no, don't do that, but it's just like, I mean, I don't feel the need to.
No, Matty, I'm kind of with you. This song kind of does nothing for me in a good way or a bad way. It kind of just like is there. It sounds like a million other songs from 2011. Like this
is like kind of the Front Bottoms type beat, right?
Yes.
What?
Okay.
No.
I think that's
the comparison you're going with.
I get it. But no.
Genuinely, because I didn't listen to nerd shit.
This is not this. I can see
really
where you're
not.
coming. I said yes because I could see where you're coming from.
I always compare two bands that I never listened to, and everyone like gets mad. They're like, "No, these don't."
Because
like,
you're just doing this like completely uninformed.
Front Bottoms is one. Okay, Front Bottoms is one of my favorite bands of all time. That is my cross to bear. This, I can see where you're coming from in the very confessional lyrics and the very sort of slightly abrasive vocals. Mm-hmm. But I think that Front Bottoms is more adjacent to sort of modern baseball pop punk, and this is more classical, like, indie rock of 2011, which is why I said there's a million other songs that sound like this, because, like, it kind of just gives, like, you know, you're at the beach with your friends, ? Like, I'm like, I really don't know where you would effectively listen to this.
Well, that's actually funny you say that, because the very specific thing we kind of dinged this band for is that they're from the land of no beaches, Ohio. And so that is kind of like, I was saying this about Titus and Andronicus, but it applies to this band too. What if Japandroids had less swag than they already don't have a lot of swag?
Okay, now in
That's
terms
of
this band, yes,
wrong.
I can agree. This is absolutely just Japandroids.
I will say I tried to give this song a shot because friend of the show Jael is a big Cloud Nothings fan and also really stuck up for this song in particular. And so I wanted to give it a shot, and it has an appeal, but like you've said, like it just doesn't evolve at all over the course of the song and feels very one note. And so by the time it gets past the first chorus, it just kind of loses me, because I'm just like, I'm not compelled enough by this guy's voice to want to like really be locked into him. And the riff, even though it is like a pretty nice riff, it just like it feels so kind of muted too. Like I always hear people talk about them as like a band that like rips hard, and I find this kind of limp a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Like I know
at least Japandroids, like it's not for Japandroids is never going to be the band for me, but at least when I listen to Japandroids, like my heart is pumping. Like I get it. Like I'm a human being.
I know I called this band Best Coast if they'd never seen the beach, and it's probably inflammatory, but you can't
Max, that is
separate in my mind.
exactly it.
Like,
That is
right, though. That's
it feels soulless to me. It like I know someone that's listened to this band a million times.
Cal 50 is mad right now.
Yeah, I don't.
Cal 50 is like, steaming hot somewhere.
Like it's the same thing. They just like sing about shit and shit happens and.
I like some of the lyrics on this song, but you're right. No, it's. I think the thing about this band is they're kind of like the reputation as far as I understand it is it's like for people that like this kind of music, people kind of hold them up as like they do it in a really tasteful way. But it's like if you don't like this particular kind of just kind of heartlandy rock music with kind of a punk bent to it, like you're probably not going to connect much with it.
Sure.
Like.
Never lived in the West.
It's sort of like it's like one of those for the real heads bands of a particular kind of music that is just deeply not my thing.
Kind of like Algernon Cadwallader or whatever they call it, where it's like real.
Apparently March is getting mad at you.
And
I get Max. I get the comparisons.
Different kind of real head. That's the thing is that there are so many different flavors of dudes with mustaches that like this kind of music and like
this is not like this is
not
they
have tattoos or not, depending on whether they're wearing a flannel shirt or like a skateboardy shirt. Like there are so many different types of guitar band guy that I totally understand why you as the non-context person regularly go like because the thing is Max, they are the same guy. That's the thing. They are the same guy deep down, but they have like it's the whatever of small differences.
They're
they are the same guy. They just got marketed differently.
Yeah,
exactly. But anyways, that's enough Cod Nothing. This song's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Again, there's better songs on this record. There's better songs in the catalog. I think I'm not as negative on this band as y'all
catch
are.
Me listening to them,
but I'm also not like major fan number one. Just like they've got some good songs, some enjoyable records. I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing.
I will say I never heard of this band before this podcast. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I think like they kind of had their heyday in the early 2010s, and since then it's just kind of like they've got some goodwill, but some of the records just haven't really, I guess, matched up, which I don't know if is exactly true. It's just like I don't think this band was ever like that good in the first place. I think it's just right place, right time. You know,
I think for the people, but for the people that are so locked into the song, like, I hear people stick up for their 2017 album all the time. I hear people say that their album last year is good. Like there is a certain kind of person for whom this is just like their bread and butter.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that it exists for those people.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
Well then, thank you all for listening to another Best New Pod. Rose, I just want to apologize for yelling earlier. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to make a point, and I got mad because I kept getting interrupted.
I apologize. I know it happens sometimes. It's just look. There's no benefit to arguing about Grimes.
I wasn't even trying to argue. I was literally
here.
just trying to make one point and then get on my way because otherwise I was going to be done.
I apologize, but again, we're both Indie Heads moderators. We know that there's no good discussion that can be had about Grimes in 2022.
That is true.
We had the best discussion I've had about Grimes on this podcast episode because yes, you're right. A lot of the discourse is stupid in the way that Grimes herself can.
You just gotta
be stupid.
You just gotta escape the current context. Just think about at the time and before everything. It's like, yeah.
Of course, but like that was the point I was trying to make is I can't separate that.
Which I don't blame you at all. I think it's I don't disagree either. There's definitely just like sometimes I can separate, but other times it's just like it gets in my head too much. It just depends on the space I'm in. But
exactly.
But so there we go. We got our points out the way. We're done with Grimes for now. I say for now because there's probably stuff we'll talk about with Art Angels and
yes,
stuff
I'm almost
before.
Sure.
But we are done with the year 2011. We are done with the year for now. Obviously, we'll have an episode on some cuts
survived
as a bonus, but we are going to get into 2012 next week. And we have a very special guest, I think, coming on for that episode. A guest that I'm very excited to have on. But yeah, that is it. I'm excited. 2012, I think like this is the last year, 2011, where it's like I'm like only so aware of what's going on at the time. 2012 was like where I get a lot more aware of like, oh, I know what things are going on right now in the music world, like stuff that isn't just like odd future. What was that, Max?
With the trickster from Britain.
He was never a Pitchfork darling. He never was, and I didn't get a Dean Blunt until like 2015 is when I got a Dean Blunt. So I was not around for like the Redeemer or black metal eras. So he was never a Pitchfork darling.
Insane batch of songs, like seriously, like go look at that, and you're just gonna be like, oh,
yeah, we're really getting into like it's gonna be 2 hour plus episodes from here on out. Like we're already at that point, but like it's just sorry, folks, it's gonna be 2 hour long episodes from here on out.
The first 3 alone are like that's an hour right there.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into.
But like, look at them. Seriously, look at them.
Yeah, we'll have, again, if you're on our Discord, if you're on our Discord, we'll be posting the playlist for next week and all that stuff. So if you want to get an early sneak preview, hey, patreon.com, Indie Heads Podcast, get that Discord, get the episodes for 8 hours early. Great deal. If you're not already doing it, it's $1 a month. Come on, it's pocket change. Come on, you can afford to not get some avocado toast for a month, you millennial. You know, you can do that and support a great podcast here. But yeah, Reanna, thank you so much for coming back on the pod.
Always happy to be here.
Good guess.
I listen. My whole bit that I got hired to do is just talk about pop music. So if you ever need somebody to intellectualize on Grimes or Azealia Banks or the like that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm good at.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
So.
And I'm not going to thank Max because Max is about to unleash some truly evil stuff at us in July.
It's a big couple weeks in the podcast. Big things are coming. Gavin and I are reconnecting for the first time in a while.
You know when there's like a video game where you have characters that are not unlocked yet and they're like fully blacked out, like the silhouette is like fully blacked out. There are a couple of new guys that are about to be unveiled to the podcast audience.
They're blacked, Jackie. They're blacked out.
Jesus Christ, Matty! No, Jesus Christ! I was making a wholesome joke. You ruined it.
We haven't cracked that egg yet. Okay.
Jesus Christ. Anyways.
Oh, well, you're going to get mad at me. I didn't even make the playlist. This is thanks to Gavin.
Okay, thank you for listening to the Indie Heads Podcast. Tune in next week. We'll be back. More new Best New Pod, more mainline episodes. Lots of good stuff happening on the podcast. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. We got to leave.